Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What's Going On, the occasional podcast that comes out from us two here in this room. We have a slightly different schedule today. We are going to talk about a
Death and misery.
death and misery.
Yeah.
Always lovely to talk about. Yep. Such an uplifting podcast. But we do have a slightly different start to the podcast with a new section being added, technically. Because the podcast is called What's Going On, so we thought it'd be good to include a segment of what is actually going on. I think I've talked enough. Please.
Yeah, so Gabe's back. Say hello, Gabe.
Hello, Gabe.
Okay. Back by popular demand from my father.
I have approval.
So yeah, I've been kind of thinking about like where to take this podcast, kind of like how to fit it to its name, because I think that was a point that you had raised. You asked me why it was called that, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't really know why. I just liked it. But yeah, so I like to keep up with the news. You didn't really read the news when we met.
Well,
You do a little bit more now.
A little bit more. My mum recently sort of stopped reading the news because it was very depressing. And I say recently, in the last couple of years, she stopped just keeping up with things. And I think she lives quite happily for it.
Yeah.
So I kind of took a little note from her book, as it were. But I mean, it is also good to be keeping up with current affairs, especially with what's happening in the world. There are lots of things going on. So we're going to try and talk about a few of those bits, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think for me, I always keep up with the news because I like to know what's going on. Especially, recently, the world's a bit mental, isn't it? So yeah, we're gonna look at a couple of stories that we've both picked. Mine are much more depressing. You've tried to pick some good ones, so it's not all doom and gloom.
I think if anyone is watching or listening to this at the time that it comes out, they know a lot about what's going on.
Yeah, this is news from the past week. So by the time this podcast episode comes out, it will be from your last week.
Yes, technically. Yeah. But yeah, so I wanted to pick a few things that are maybe less talked about but are more somewhat uplifting and can maybe start some conversations about other things as well.
But yeah. What are you drinking before we get into that?
What am I drinking? I'm drinking a delightful grapefruit infused IPA today, which you are going to call pretentious.
I'm not going to call pretentious. It's beer, isn't it?
It's beer. Yeah, it's IPA.
Yeah, it's like the first normal drink you've had.
What?
Well, the first time you had mead, and then the second time you had like an alcoholic smoothie.
Yeah, I whipped something up because we needed to use up mangoes.
Yeah, we have a lot of mangoes for some reason.
We have a lot of mangoes.
What I have...
Yes, please, tell us about your drink.
I have so it's tequila, which is going to be great because I make all my worst decisions on tequila.
Oh dear.
And then this like non-alcoholic like cherry blossom thing.
Cherry blossom thing?
Yeah, I don't know, to give it some flavour, and then I just add a tonic. I normally add grapefruit soda and make like a Paloma. But we do. Oh, I should have used that.
Oh dear. Are we finding out that you're going to have regret after drinking this, knowing what you could have had?
Yeah, because I don't think it's I'll give it a little try because I normally do a tonic one.
I know.
You want to cheers?
We're going to cheers first, of course.
Cheers.
Mine's delicious. How's yours?
I should have added grapefruit to that. But yeah, should we try and answer that question with the world today? What the fuck is going on? Do you want to start? Or?
No, I think you should start. And
then okay, because mine are depressing. Yeah, we'll have a little lift up.
We'll get a lift, more and then we'll go down into murder. Yeah.
So I I was going to do US news, but I think this would have to be a whole other episode just on US news because
There's a lot going on in the
there's
US.
a lot going on in the US, and it is. I think it's scary because it's got a lot of wild impacts. But yeah, so I think that's what everyone knows about. So I kind of wanted to concentrate on more other stuff that's actually going on, but I don't think people are picking up on because of all the stuff that's coming out of the US.
There's lots of reporting on the situation in the US and on the global stage. So because it's changing so much, it might just be easier to talk about other things.
Other stuff, yeah. But the first news story that I've chosen is about Kemi Badenoch's speech on Western civilization.
Yes.
So if you don't know, because I don't know how much you keep up with politics, but Kemi Badenoch is the leader of the Conservative Party. And she's made these remarks in the past week that I did have a little bit of a giggle at. Because they're funny, but in also a horrifying way.
Oh, good.
So she's warned that if Tories fail to renew and uphold core values, Western civilization could decline. She's condemned diversity initiatives, climate activism, and pronouns, calling them poison that undermines social cohesions and claiming they promote agendas incompatible with traditional Western values.
Pronouns.
It gets worse.
I'm sorry. I'm just stuck on pronouns are poison.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
But
there's
more.
There's more.
She's also argued that migration is eroding the UK's identity and has advocated for stricter immigration controls. Now,
are we gonna dive into immigration straight away?
No. Well, yeah, no. Because I think migrations are like a hot topic at the moment.
It's always
not just in the UK, but like a lot in the US.
Everywhere.
And like there is this ongoing debate about like upholding like your country's traditional values,
sure,
while also being progressive. But I think the way that she's like spoken about things, she's kind of made the Conservative Party this like defenders of Western civilization at the cost of progressiveness and inclusivity. I can't say that word.
Inclusivity.
That one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I think the way she, like what she said, it's landed her in a bit of hot water, like even within her own party, because you can't avoid it, but it sounds like Trump.
A little bit more cohesive than Trump.
I don't know. Have you ever heard her speak?
That's true. No, not really.
I don't think she's... I mean, she's okay. I do think she has been dealt like a bad hand because the Conservative Party is like not very strong right now. There's a lot of like infighting and...
Well, considering what happened over the last 13, 15 years, I don't remember.
However long.
Yeah, long they were in power. They started off really welcomed and like with the new change, and then slowly dipped down more, kept going into the floor.
And they haven't really come back up again, which is why Labour won.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting for me because I don't know how much, like I do feel the Conservatives haven't been like that hardline conservative for a while.
Right. You think they've been angling towards the middle?
Yeah, a little bit. I would never say that because the thing is we don't really have like I think UK politics, even to the right, is still quite central compared to a lot of other political parties from other countries.
That's a fair point.
But I think for me, she's kind of saying this stuff because you've got the issue of reform at the moment.
The issue with reform.
I
think the presence of reform. Some people, just because we don't want to get too political.
Oh, we don't want to get too political.
But the presence of reform as a party is and not just on the British stage. You know, the presence of far right parties all over Europe and America and other places are meaning that people do have to make different sorts of decisions and think about other topics and
I do. I think she's trying to, because they kind of need to get their voters back. Like a lot of people that voted for reform were conservative before, and they kind of need to get them people back.
What they're doing is they're chasing their voters towards reform. But I think what's going to happen is instead of them closing, they're trying to close the gap. But I think what's actually going to happen is it's going to go the other way. So reform is going to overtake conservatives because they're chasing certain policies, and reform are going to have a stronger stance on those policies, and so people are going to want to go for the stronger one. And I think that's where it's going to go. Instead of closing it off or putting up a wall, it's going to make a bridge, and we're going to see more.
Reform go over it, basically.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny that they're gaining popularity because they're kind of like how conservatives were like however many years ago when they won, because they're like, because Conservative Party, let's be honest, at the moment is a mess.
It is a mess
and failing, and they can't really decide like on anything. Reform is, a lot of people that now have this discontent for traditional parties. Like nobody really likes what the Labour government is doing. I don't like it, and I'm a Labour voter. Conservatives don't like it because it doesn't, go with its opposite values, isn't it?
Of course.
But Reform do have clear policies. They have clear stances and everything. They're very like to the point. And obviously like a lot of what they say, personally for me comes out horribly and I'm against a lot of what I stand for. But they ain't got a lot of bullshit.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? I think that appeals to a lot of people, especially in today's political climate, because it's like no nonsense.
You're so right. Do you want to know something? So I've been sitting on some information that I haven't wanted to tell you.
Oh god!
Until
you vote Reform, don't you?
I don't actually. Okay. But you know my parents.
I do. Yes, I know your parents.
You know how fairly liberal my mother is.
Yes.
We were having a conversation about
where is this going.
She would consider voting Reform, considering
really?
a lot of their policies recently. Yeah, because some of the things that they're saying make sense to her, and she's always been very liberal, very left, very. I don't know what the word is, but she's kind of a hippie. She won't mind me saying that. She knows she's a hippie.
She probably doesn't listen to this.
Probably not. She should. Come on, Mom.
Oh, I guess. I think there is just a shift of views generally, because like look at AFD. Is it AFD or ADF? AFD?
AFD.
In Germany. Their elections are today, actually. So we're recording this on the Sunday. We're recording this on the day of the German elections, where, is it Merz?
I think it's Merz.
The conservative leader, not conservative, it's Christian, isn't it?
Christian
Union or something.
Liberal Union or something, I don't know, yeah.
Is polled to win.
He is defending.
But AFD is polled to double their seats.
Which is
what I said to you. I said, I don't think they will actually win this election. I think if Merz's party doesn't, put a boot up their bum, they will lose the next one after. But then yesterday, that person tragically lost their life because they were stabbed.
Oh, yes.
By a Syrian refugee, which not great timing.
It's not good timing.
May actually now
put it in their favour.
Yeah.
With people being like, oh, this is a problem.
We need to get immigrants out.
Even though it's not the fault
It's
of all
one
immigrants.
person,
it is one extremist. And that's the main
That's
point.
always the issue, though.
A lot of people do acknowledge it, but I think it needs to be said again. There's a lot of issues with immigration. And I think that there's a lot more positives for it than some very extreme negatives. But a lot of the extreme negatives are what get publicized.
It's always in the news.
It's always in the news.
I think because a lot of people forget that
I'm being very naive.
It's mostly people fleeing a country that is a horrible place to live. They will die. Their families will die. And they do come over and, most of them do contribute and they end up doing the jobs that if you ask any person on the street, probably wouldn't want to do. Like hotel cleaning, like cleaning toilets and like a lot more like laborious jobs.
Is it hard? I'm thinking of a word, but I don't know if it's correct. Menial, is that the right word? Menial jobs, menial labor.
Yeah, I guess. Like
I
more
guess.
hands-on stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because isn't it in the US there was like after all the ICE announcements, like loads of people didn't turn up to a building site because
Yeah.
they were now in the process of being deported.
Yeah.
And it's like they couldn't like they had like 4 people turn up.
Actually doing the job. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the jobs that no one really wants because they don't pay well.
No, well, that's the thing. You say that, but then we get lots of doctors, lots of dentists, lots of people with quite high-paying jobs as well,
Yeah.
who are very well educated also in those
I guess
roles.
that's the other side of it, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So it's, yeah. And then it's a lot of people are like, oh, they're taking our jobs. But it's like, do you have the qualifications for that
Yeah,
job?
like if you want it, go to medical school.
Yeah.
Go to school.
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, I can't afford to.
That's the argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
But then, like, I didn't come from a particularly, like, I come from quite a working class family. I went to uni because there's government help.
mm,
I mean, I still had to work through uni
of course.
most of the time to, feed myself.
Which is
Because
a necessity.
accommodation's not cheap.
It's not.
Even if you get full maintenance loan. I do feel the way the maintenance loans are kind of worked out are a bit silly in my opinion. Because I know people that got minimum.
That we are tangenting.
We're so tangenting. But I do know people that got minimum and their parents didn't supplement them. Okay. But that was my point. But yeah. Okay. My original point is basically
circling back.
Way back. If Badenoch's, if she's saying all this stuff, pronouns are poison, blah blah blah, to try and get conservative more into its original traditional stance. Will it be enough, do you think?
Or will it go too far and open the door up for reform?
Or does it feel like, in my opinion, what is the phrase?
I don't.
Little too late.
Oh, too little, too late.
Too little, too late, yeah.
That's an interesting point. Everyone should have their say. What do you guys think? We'll open it up. If you guys have any opinions on what you think the political climate is going to look like in the next sort of 5 to 10 years, it'll be interesting to see how things are going to go round the way they do.
Or do people dislike her because she's a woman? I'm just saying, the only thing people hate more than a racist is a woman. Because I think Farage is kind of racist.
It's hard to quantify that word to
Because that's what they said about the US elections, isn't it?
A little bit.
The only thing that everyone hates more than a paedophile is a woman
for president,
especially not a white woman.
Yikes.
Yeah. Anyway,
right. Well, that's
so no. Your answer is no. You don't think it'll be enough?
I don't think so.
No, neither do I.
But let's.
I guess when's our next election? We've only just had one, haven't we?
Yeah, you have just had one. So the next 3 years,
Yeah.
Like Olympics. I don't know, but
is it like the Olympics?
Like every 4 years.
The Olympics is slightly more entertaining. I don't watch the Olympics.
Yeah, fair enough.
My second news story.
So that was the first one.
That was just the first one. Yours are a lot shorter, so
mine are shorter and kind of open up discussions more.
I was aiming for 30 minutes, but to be fair, the first 5 minutes aren't of anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
We might be all right.
So the second news story I've chosen is about, and this has already kind of gone down the drain because this was something that came out early in the week. But Britain and France's plan to create a reassurance force for Ukraine. So if you haven't read this, which you probably haven't,
I've been scattered around. I know what's going on.
So they've announced these plans.
I said the name of the podcast. Please keep going.
So they've announced these plans to create this reassurance force for Ukraine, intended to strengthen the security following a potential ceasefire, which is in the works, I guess. But their original plan was with US support. Now, since this has come out, the US have kind of said, yeah, it's up to the EU to defend the EU, and it's not really their prerogative to get involved. Which
I don't want to bring it up, but Article 5 of the NATO thing.
I don't know what that is.
That's like whenever a ally nation is attacked, the others will jump in to intervene.
Ukraine's not part of NATO.
I know, that's the point. but I think because if there is escalated aggravation, I think, America's not going to help at all.
Yeah, I think their point that was made, because I don't know how much, because this has all come through Hegseth, Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of Defense or something.
I'm not sure. I don't know the names.
Crazy that that's who's been appointed, because he was a Fox News presenter, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he also like barely scraped his vote in, I think, by Senate, because he had a load of like sexual assault or something cases against, I don't know. Anyway,
Fantastic.
he's kind of said that they've got no intention of sending like troops or military aid into Ukraine. And then another point where this has already kind of fallen down is so Zelensky, who's the president of Ukraine, has said that for long-term peace they're going to need like 30,000, and this reassurance force is like, oh no, so he said they need 100,000. The reassurance force is 30, so already that's like falling
over
slightly
half.
short.
Over half short. It's a third of what they need.
Of what
but
they
that
need.
Is just Britain and France, right?
Yes, but how much do you think other countries would want to get involved?
Depends.
Considering that's already a shortfall between two countries.
But then it does
Trump's a wild card anyway.
It does depend on sort of the situation with Russia, how much of an aggressor they are going to be. I mean, there is the situation with the cables in the Baltic Sea and how they've been accused of cutting those. So Germany and I think it's Denmark, something like that, they're the ones sort of taking charge of that sort of defense. So whether or not they'll jump in and lend their support,
they have kind of got their own issues. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So, yeah. Iceland's trying to be bought still, I think.
Because then that's the thing at the moment, that fun old rumor that has gone around many times in the past few years is going around again.
Which rumor?
Conscription.
Oh yes, that's true.
So my so this is kind of two stories in one, because another story got released later this week that kind of fits into why conscription is a bad idea.
Oh, you're having all the story time.
I know. So I think there's a general feeling in our generation that if the government tried to conscript again, it wouldn't be met with approval, niceties. I think most of our generation would have to get to fuck, basically.
Right. Okay.
I personally wouldn't.
I know.
I know you kind of want to join the army anyway.
I thought about it a fair few times throughout my growing up and trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life. I do think that there's a lot of nations that do have it and they do benefit from the experience. I think it's difficult to bring it in during a time when things may escalate and there may be potentially lots of lives lost.
That was one of my points, was, if Russia continues to aggress, or whatever the hell Trump and Putin are planning, because nobody knows, because it's all going on behind closed doors with no EU input, no input from Ukraine.
That's another topic entirely,
and it's way below what Ukraine thinks they'll need. It has got this sense of kind of lambs to the slaughter, maybe
a little bit
suicidal.
If we can't reinforce with exactly what they need with much fewer troops, then they're not going to last long and we're going to lose
our troops. Yeah. But also maybe because I'm more put off by the army because I'm a woman,
maybe.
And there's a lot of, and this is what this story, the second story, is about general mistrust in the army, but women in the army, because there's many stories like this, but the one that came out this week was about Jessie Beck. So this is the coronary report. So she died in 2021. This was the investigation into her death because she took her own life. So she was 19 years old. She was a gunner for the UK Army. She experienced sexual assault and harassment from her senior officers. So one guy, she said, had pinned her down, tried to kiss her. And then the other guy had sent her like thousands of texts. Like her ex-boyfriends come out and said that like some of the texts he sent were like a 5-page fantasies of what he wanted to do to her.
Jeez.
Yeah, she reported this, obviously. Well, actually, I don't say obviously because I think a lot of this goes unreported anyway.
Yeah.
She did report it. Only an internal investigation was done. There was no, they didn't report to civilian police, which I think is actually against their own policies. The guy that pinned her down got, I actually don't know what happened to the other guy that sent all the texts. I know that he's not in the army anymore. I think he might be an Uber driver or something.
Oh, nice career turnaround.
Yeah, because I remember seeing a tweet that was like, don't get in his car. Like, they pasted his face, it was like, don't get in this man's car. But anyway, so the guy that pinned her down tried to kiss her, got like this tiniest, I don't know what it was, but like administrative action, and also had to write a letter of apology to her.
Right.
I don't know where he is now, but he got promoted like later on. So there was no consequence to him. But because of that, because like they handled it horribly and then she kept getting harassed, she did take her own life. And so this has now come out in the news because the results of the investigation they've done is that absolutely these things that happened to her and the shockingly horrible way it was handled directly contribute to her mental health issues and then her death. Yeah. So my point is, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable because I wouldn't feel comfortable in the army as a woman.
That's understandable.
And then, it's terrible timing for Starmer, I won't lie, because now it's like, you've got this like renewal of like tarnishing of the army's reputation, the general mistrust. Because it's like, if we can't trust the army to, look after and keep safe
their own soldiers,
their members at home and internally, what the hell are they going to do abroad in like war, in like fighting?
Yeah, it is. It's arguably it's a very different atmosphere, and I think there's a certain character or personality trait that people with that go forward in the army. That's what they progress with. That's what they're looking for. So I think because there was an interview with some of the soldiers taking part in Operation Steadfast Start, which is taking place in Romania, to as like a example or training exercise for if British troops do go into Ukraine. They're like, the people who are interviewed is like, yeah, no, the army the men in the army or personnel in the army, we feel ready to fight. This is what we joined for. This is they're almost itching for it.
Yeah, but those are the people that have voluntarily signed up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
Not
everyone is going to have
being
that.
forced into it. Yeah,
conscripted.
I don't see how many women are going to be like, yeah, absolutely.
I think that's
because would they not already done it?
I think there's been a general sort of decline. I wouldn't say downfall, but there's been a decline in the amount of people who want to join the army anyway.
Yeah.
Because they don't see sort of maybe. Because we live in sort of very peaceful times in the Western world, we don't really see maybe such as a need for it. We have a nuclear deterrent more than we have armed forces to actually go in and take care of things themselves. So I think has been a decline in that sort of the willingness to sign up for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's almost that cyclical saying about hard times breed hard men. Again, this is just people. I know it says men, but it should mean everyone. Hard men bring easy times bring soft men bring hard times, and so on.
It's just a cycle.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So which part of it are we in now? That's the thing. I mean, easy times that are breeding soft men.
It depends what Trump says, I think, on the day.
It's true. Are we going to transition into a harder time, or going to find out?
I think, yeah, it's a bit of a watch and wait, isn't it? But my point is, like, just, you've got this general mistrust of the army. You've now thrown in further misconduct, basically a cover up. And okay, so ignore the rumor of conscription, just army itself and this reassurance force. How much public support, given that this is all going to shape attitudes towards national defence policies, how much public support do you think this reassurance force, should it come to fruition, actually have?
It's hard to say because my opinion of it might be different to other people's. Me just seeing the news and seeing everything that's going on, seeing how unfairly Ukraine are being treated, the injustices that are going on over there, the just the general invasion itself, like people's attitude towards that. I think when people are informed and they know about these things, there is generally a more of a call to action, and I think Starmer is sort of seeing that a bit. He is feeling that there's been pressure anyway from, I think, within his own party and from America and outside sources to increase defense spending. And
Yeah, I think we are. We're going to go from like, I think it's like 1.2 to 1.5 or something.
2.3 to 2.5, I believe,
something like that.
Yeah. But I mean, I know Mr. Trump wants everyone to go up to 5%.
But this is the thing as well, because it's a bit like you've now got this. And again, I'll say I don't like Starmer, but I do feel like he has been given a shit hand because it's at this point with US and Russia doing these peace talks.
Yeah.
What side do you choose? Because it's kind of is US versus EU at the moment, really, isn't it? And it's kind of like, do you choose, EU size, which doesn't have, the power of the US, let's be honest. Because it's, it's smaller, and US has always been this big monster. Because then if you choose Trump's side, and there's not sides as such, but like if you align yourself more with him, that's so like putting your eggs all in one basket.
Literally.
Because you can't have both.
No.
Because they don't like each other.
At the moment, the tensions are much higher, especially with the tariffs.
Because then it's like, what about China? What's China going to do?
China, I think
they're getting more aggressive.
Everyone's looking on and seeing different parts. There's lots of tension in the world at the moment. The world stage is set for something to happen. It's almost like there's a match being lit almost, and we're kind of waiting to see where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of potential things can happen. It might just fizzle out. There might be very successful peace talks, and everything could be celebrated and resolved very easily. Who knows? Let's hope that's what happens.
Oh yeah, by the time this episode comes out,
could be a completely different situation.
We could both be conscripted.
Or that. Yeah.
But yeah. But that was my news stories.
That was your
very
news stories.
Depressing, very what is going on? Just very
the political climate in the world right now. Kind of touching on that.
Not good.
Which we should say as well, neither of us are very well versed in like political theory or anything like that. We're just sort of people with opinions. So if we have got any facts and figures wrong, we're not attempting to defame anyone or light any fires under butts. This is just how we feel, I suppose. Worth saying.
Sad.
I
feel sad and scared.
Sad, scared, worried, but
is what it is.
Is what it is.
If we get nuked, it won't matter. We won't feel it. We'll be dead
very quick.
Yeah.
Well, depending on where it hits. Anyway. So, a couple of the other things that are going on in the world. On a slightly lighter note,
slightly less depressing note,
but also worth talking about because I think it brings up some interesting discussions. So I think it was. I'm going to have a look over here. Going to go to the other one first. So we've had a recent archaeological find first.
One of us was prepared.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, so we've got, I believe it was Thutmose II in Egypt, who was apparently a ruler or married a ruler. I think she was Queen. Oh yeah, Queen Hatshepsut, who was quite a significant ancient Egyptian figure, ruler in the fact that she was a queen in her own right. But her husband, Thutmose II, his tombs have been uncovered in Egypt very recently, which I think is really interesting because it's nice that we are still sort of digging in historically, and we're still trying to uncover secrets of the past.
Trying to steal more things, the British Museum.
That's a different subject.
Sorry. I have very strong feelings about digging up tombs.
I know. I mean, we could use this to go back to British nationalism, but we're not going to. But yeah, so I think it's a really interesting find in what they've done because it's like the tombs themselves were like completely They weren't able to sort of, there wasn't very many indications of where they were. I think because of flooding and things sort of collapsing the structures. But they've gone in there and they found, lots of traces of the fact that these were royalty, and then they found, actual signs of who these individuals are. So I think they've taken the body out they found, or that at the very least they're keeping it contained, as it were. Contained sounds like it's going to escape. Well, Egyptian curses. Who knows?
Who cares if Trump's going to start World War III?
We've unleashed a mummy's curse onto the world. But yeah, but I do think it's interesting because the reason why I think this one was moved, I think a lot of Egyptians, they were put in there, or a lot of the pharaohs, they were put in these big structures with all their treasures, and then obviously desperate people would raid those tombs, and then people would find out, and they would have to move the remains somewhere less obvious. So people were eating the rich long before the sentiment came around.
Strong views on that stuff.
I know. What strong views do you have upon this sort of archaeological finds?
I don't like it. I get that, it's important to learn about our history, but I have very strong views on digging up, let's be honest, graves.
Tombs.
It's got a dead person in it. But because I'm quite spiritual, I believe in souls and stuff. I think I don't like that we do it in a sense of you are disturbing someone's place of rest.
Do you not think after 3,000 years that soul has moved on?
How would you ever know?
How would you know?
Exactly. What if by disturbing their place of rest, they do curse you?
Well,
think about that.
We're about to find out.
But yeah, I don't like, digging it up, being like, oh, cool, learning something from it, and then put it back.
Put it back.
Just put it back.
Sure.
It's how I don't agree with why we've got so much stolen stuff in museum. I do like a good museum.
You do like a museum.
If, tomorrow they were like, yeah, we're going to get it all back, I'd be like, great. I can happily never go to a museum again. Just put it back.
Well, because it
doesn't belong to us.
The technology that is available now with 3D printing and modeling and things like that, they could make replicas very, very easily, and then give back the official items to their home countries.
Yeah, the cultures we took them from.
The cultures that Britain acquired them from.
Took them from.
Discovered them.
Because they're more, it's oh, they gave it to us,
Yeah, I know.
As a token of, it's
a
white man's word against.
Well, it is, a lot of these things are part of British culture in the sense that it was our explorers who went out and discovered them, and therefore I think that's one of the arguments of that's why they've been claimed.
Why we keep them, yeah.
But that's the thing, then why we,
why do we still
have them? Because they are also a part of the
we've discovered them, we know they're there.
Of the place that they're from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is that. But yes, Egyptian discoveries.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. Because it's been a while, actually, isn't it, since they last...
It's a long time. I think at least 20 years.
Yeah.
Have a look.
Discovered a pharaoh.
Oh, no, more than that. About a century ago is when they last found a tomb, which is Tutankhamun.
Oh, wow.
Or Tutankhamun.
Tutankhamun.
So yeah, but I do think that it is important to look into history and try and discover as much as we can, because we learn a lot from our past. So it's worth it to help us prevent future tragedies as well.
So really, we haven't learned. Yeah, we're still learning.
We're still learning. We're still discovering.
Learning.
Yeah, I think that's worth doing.
How not to repeat past mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's one of the things going on, which I think is an important thing to mark. Historical discoveries. Second one is I think even more enlightening.
Is it happier?
It is happier. It's I like animals. I think you like animals too.
I do like animals. It depends on the animal, actually. I'm
not vegetarian, but I like animals. They're very, very
I'll
cute.
still eat an animal.
Yeah. But there was recently I think it's a baby bongo. basically it's a type of antelope, an
Right.
endangered antelope.
Okay.
I think there's less than 100 of them around this particular species. The first baby has been born in the UK, and
Show me a picture
they're
right
very
now.
cute, I think.
That's ugly. Oh, that's cute.
The calf is very
Yeah, a
cute.
lot of baby animals are cute though. It's like I find like staffy puppies
Yeah,
really cute, and
even
then
though
they
you
grow up. I'm
don't
like,
want a staffy.
or
But
like
yeah.
pug puppies. I find really cute, and then they grow up, and you're like, oh my god, just put it out of his misery. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
That's not because they're ugly, but because they have horrible breathing issues and health issues, and I don't like them as a breed because they just always seem to be in pain and
They're not-
like misery.
They're not always in pain. Yes, they do
Aren't
have
they
some
aren't
issues.
they the breed that you have to learn how to like pop their eyeballs back in or something?
Pugs or staffies?
Pugs.
The thing is, it depends on the pug because some of them are bred very specifically, and that's horrible. But yeah, I don't know enough about.
Yeah, no, I mean the ones that are bred and they're like got breathing issues and
They're bred for show, and that leads to
it's
genetic
just horrible.
abnormalities. Yes, so it's an English safari park. They're celebrating the arrival of the calf. I think it's a male calf. And I think it's very sweet. So it's like it's part of their breeding program. I think there's been there's been a few sort of success stories over the last couple of years about endangered species sort of getting another chance. So I think they are, and then this sort of, and that then leads me to sort of the next topic about endangered species with the fact of captivity, like keeping animals in captivity. Is it good? Should we be doing it as much as we are?
I have so much I have views on this.
I know.
Because I have a thing about zoos.
You have a thing about zoos.
I refuse to give money to like go visit a zoo unless they have really good preservation and like breeding programs. Because I think there is like a good and bad thing because a lot of species now only exist in captivity.
Yeah.
And that's the only way like we're keeping those species alive is because we're breeding them within captivity.
It's true.
My other point is because you think, oh great, we're helping them not go extinct. Why are they going extinct in the first place? Humans. We fuck their environment
a little bit.
We're killing the world off.
Again, we should point out it's probably specific humans. Wouldn't say it's humans in general. A lot of endangered animals, I think in Africa, I think a lot of them get poached and things like that. Elephants hunted for ivory and
no, I mean
tigers
humans
for
in
skins.
general.
Oh, you just
no,
mean...
there are like specifically, yeah, that's bad.
Okay.
But we're killing the world off globally anyway, is what I mean. Like climate change.
This is a much harder topic than I thought it was going to be. I just
Sorry.
want to talk about animals
really
in captivity.
about zoos,
I know.
It's like, but that's what I mean. I mean, humans in general are killing the environment, and because places are getting warmer, we're killing off the animals because they can't adapt. And don't start in there like survival of the fittest rhetoric.
I'm not starting on that.
But then it's also like that's obviously the bad side why we have this in the first place, but then it's also good because we are trying to keep them from going extinct, and hopefully one day they can be released back into the wild and procreate and thrive in the wild. But
I think there is a lot of compassion that humans have for animals, and I think that doesn't get sort of stated enough. We do obviously expand as a species. We expand. We need more space for ourselves to live and to make farms and lots of things just in order for the humanity to survive. But yeah, I think that the effort that humans are taking to preserve things is
both admirable. It's bittersweet, really, in a way, isn't it?
But yeah, so little lovely antelope being born in a UK safari park, which I think is very sweet.
That's very sweet.
Anyway,
it's not the first one recently. It's another one recently as well.
I think there was, yeah. I
can't remember what it was. Some kind of anteater from that kind of family, I think. I don't remember.
Take your word for it. But yeah, mine's sort of less of a
cute little thing.
Yeah, mine little cute little things. But I think that's all I've got. Just a bit of uplifting news.
Yeah.
Like, the world is a untangible place. That's not a word. Intangible. And it's lots of things are changing, but there is good in the world, and I
Yes.
think it's important to celebrate that as well
Absolutely,
as
yeah.
acknowledge the things that we should change.
Now let's go into some horrible things. The horrible side of the world.
Oh no.
So, I really need a footrest.
Yes, please use me as a footrest.
You get this for free.
No, they have to pay for that.
Oh, sorry.
These hands are
You have to pay to get gave to me with hands.
Yeah, this is my hands are a Patreon wall. Should we set up a Patreon?
Should we set up a Patreon just my feet?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Dad. You know you're listening to this. To be fair, my favourite part of their trip up, other than the board game night was fun,
That was a lot of fun.
was explaining to my parents what OnlyFans was.
Oh, God, I can't believe that was a conversation you had to have.
Yeah, and they were like just horrified. And you were being like, oh, it didn't start off like that. It didn't start off like that. And I'm just sat there like, it's porn. It's just porn.
It was for creators and things
Oh, you know,
like
they're
that.
very creative on there.
No, not
I'm
like
sure.
that.
Yeah, so today's story is about Shanann Watts. Don't laugh again.
I'm not.
And her two daughters, Bella and Celeste, or they called her Cece. So they unfortunately passed away. Her husband killed them all.
And that's the end of the segment.
And that's just
Thank
it.
you
Yeah,
very much
thank
for
you for
listening.
listening.
No suspense.
But yeah, I'm here with you today to unravel the timeline, the psychology, and the chilling confession of Chris Watts. So, Chris Watts, just a bit of background, and Shanann Rushchek, both from North Carolina. They met and were married in 2012 after moving to Frederick, Colorado. This is a very short section. There's not a lot of background on them.
Okay.
I kind of just picked out what I thought was important and kind of not makes it more depressing because it's just a horrible case anyway, but like just making the points of just why he is such an awful person. But Shanann had always struggled with fertility issues. I think she had lupus. So when they had their two daughters, she said she felt so blessed. She finally got children, and when she died, she was also 15 weeks pregnant with a baby boy who they were planning on naming Nico.
Yikes.
So from the outside, their life appeared pleasant, lovely, a bit of the American dream kind of, picket fences and everything. So she was very like active on social media, Facebook mostly, painting a picture of love, family, success. Behind the scenes,
Not so much?
not so
Oh
much.
dear.
So I've done this in a chronological order, beginning at 7 weeks before she disappeared.
Okay.
So,
Trigger warning.
trigger warning for those who do need it. There are going to be mentions, and again, I try not to
Go into the details.
go into details or go on it too much, but there is mentions of murder, infidelity, substance abuse, and family annihilation.
Family annihilation.
So we begin 7 weeks before the disappearance. So Shanann had flown to North Carolina to see family and friends, and Chris had promised to join at a later date.
Well, I thought they lived in North Carolina.
That's where they're both from.
Okay.
They moved to Colorado.
Oh.
So they're living in Colorado, but all their families still in North Carolina.
Sure. Sorry. Please continue.
So I think Chris joined them, I think like 5 weeks in. Because he was going to fly back with them, but he had work, which is why he didn't go originally. So apparently Shanann had never ever got on with Chris's parents. Chris's parents didn't even attend their wedding because they really, really didn't like Shanann. Now, all her friends and family describe her as a very like headstrong, quite dominant, extroverted person, whereas Chris is very like quiet and introverted. And I think because of that, Chris's parents kind of just saw Shanann as a bitch.
Okay.
But yeah, they didn't go to the wedding, and while they were visiting, um, Shanann fell out with Chris's mum like really bad. They had this argument because Cece has a really bad or had a really bad nut allergy,
Oh.
and Chris's mum had tried to give her this ice cream that had nuts in it.
Okay, well, that's a bad idea, yeah.
So they had got into this really bad argument. And then so it shows like there's like text between Shanann and one of her friends saying that she never ever wants to see Chris's parents again. Um, and that there's texts that she then sent Chris saying like you need to grow a pair and defend your family, basically.
Oof.
Yeah. I want you to remember all this
I'm keeping it in
because
mind.
the court of public opinion is not a nice place,
No, it's
and
not.
it gets really horrible towards Shanann, which considering she's the one that died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so a couple of weeks later, it all started getting like really tense between her and Chris because he'd stopped FaceTiming and like calling, and like even like wasn't calling the kids.
That's
Yeah. And Shanann had confided in a friend that Chris had started like being really distant. There was like a complete lack of intimacy between them. Um, and that when he had flown in, he'd like greeted the girls and given her a kiss, and that was like the only time they'd like touched, basically,
oh
in
dear.
the time that they were away.
Yeah.
She said that she thought that, he would be a bit. They'd been apart for 5 weeks.
You would assume that there's
If
gonna
I
be a
was
bit more.
apart from you for 5 weeks,
Are you I don't think you'd let go of
no,
me
I wouldn't
for
let
about
go.
3 days.
No, no, I wouldn't. I would have missed you so much. I wouldn't just be like, give you a kiss at the airport and be like, all right,
Okay, back to normal.
back to normal.
I know.
5 weeks is a long time. It's over a month.
It's a very long time.
Yeah.
No, it'd be horrible to be apart from someone for that long. You especially.
Oh, thank you.
Mm. Cut that. Cut that. Cut that.
I'm not cutting that. But yeah, one of the texts that made me laugh, which it is horrible because I wouldn't want to be in her position, but she was texted one of her friends saying that she had tried to initiate sex and he was doing the fucking push-up challenge instead.
Which one is that? I know there's a few of those.
I don't know which one it was.
I was going to say.
It was just one of them.
The push-up challenge. Okay.
Because this is like the other like point is that if you see the like pictures and videos of when Shanann and Chris got married, he's quite he's not large, but he's larger and like not like fit.
Gotcha.
I mean physically fit, not like he's not attractive.
I understand.
But like when like now he's like super ripped. Like he got into like gym really badly and like got super ripped and like really health conscious. Usually a sign that someone's cheating on you. Or at least it's a little red flag.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a general rule. It would be a red flag for me.
Right.
Like if someone was like, okay, so like parents' perspective, when I met you, you were already going to the gym. You were getting like more health conscious because you wanted to improve yourself, and you were like that when we met. If you hadn't been like that when we met, and now we were dating, and suddenly tomorrow you were like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym, and you got super ripped, I'd be like, who are you trying to impress?
What's going on here?
Yeah,
now?
what's going on?
I mean, I did what I needed to do at the gym. I got there, I impressed you, and now I'm not reluctant to go back. I've just been missing a few sessions.
Fastening you up with all my baking and cooking. Yeah,
Finally.
haven't.
I'm gonna get that. It's a long way to go.
But yes, but it just seemed to just come out of like nowhere because it's not even like I guess it's because it definitely depends on the situation. Like if it had been like, oh, you'd had a heart attack and now you were getting ripped and self-conscious, and I wouldn't suspect anything because it'd be like you don't want another heart attack.
Sure.
But it seemingly came from nowhere, and she had also said because there was this lack of intimacy and this sudden like distance and coldness, she immediately suspected he was having an affair. She voiced this to him, and he was denial. No, of course I'm not. Blah blah blah.
Of course.
Something else that came up much later down, but I've put it in this section because this is when it happened. While they were on this trip, Chris had tried to terminate the pregnancy.
Oh, that's fucked.
So Shanann had complained of a headache, and he had given her what he told her is an over-the-counter painkiller.
Right.
What it actually was a potentially dangerous narcotic, and she was, like, vomiting all night.
That's
Did not terminate the pregnancy.
okay.
She still is healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christ.
But I just put that in because
Yeah. No, worth saying.
what?
That's really fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But she wasn't aware that he'd drugged her basically until.
no.
Okay.
So now we come to the day of when she went missing. So this was the weeks leading up. So, this is August 13th, 2018. Because I actually remember when this story came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was, when I started getting into, like, true crime and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I'd started uni as well, doing psychology, um, which I know is gonna freak you out because 'cause you're like, "What do you mean you're starting uni in
I'm not.
2018?"
I'm moving past it. I'm not. I'm not acknowledging that's what you just said. I'm just going straight through it.
So, Shanann's friend Nicole Atkinson, had just dropped Shanann off at 2 a.m. because they'd been on a work trip all weekend, and she did say that Shanann had been really distressed that weekend and she'd barely been eating, which is dangerous enough for itself because remember she is heavily
Pregnant.
pregnant. Yeah. Um, she then missed a 9 a.m. doctor's appointment, which is something that apparently she would never ever do.
Right.
'Cause she's obviously had like health issues before, and then again being pregnant. So Nicole became concerned because she couldn't reach Shanann, like texting, calling, like nothing. So she called the police and requested a welfare check, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know if it's UK, but I know Americans have it as
but
a
the thing
thing.
about the welfare checks is you can't enter the property
Yeah.
without permission from a homeowner,
Mm.
which I find strange
Yeah.
because I'd be a bit like, if I was doing a welfare check on my friend, I'd be like, batter down the door. I will pay to get it replaced. Batter down the door. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Um, but so she was also calling Chris saying like, I need you to come home because they can't enter without your permission. So he came home from work, and there's just like several points. So I watched a documentary on this and a couple of like other videos. So the main documentary I watched was I think it's called The American Family Next Door. It's on Netflix.
Okay. Netflix again. Not sponsored content.
No, it's just where I do watch most of my documentaries. But I did also watch there was a Channel 4 documentary that I can't remember the name of, and also a few YouTube videos that dive deeper into psychology of it.
Sure.
Um, but the main footage that's used throughout all of them is the body cam footage from the officer doing the welfare check. I don't know if his name was ever mentioned. Probably. I didn't
It's
write
in
it
a
down.
report somewhere, I imagine. Yeah.
And there's just a couple of things in this footage that I just want to touch on because it's so like his behavior is just so odd. Like even like watching it, I think if you didn't know, because I already knew what happened, because I remember it when it happened. But I think even if you watch this without knowing anything about the story,
You're immediately
you're
suspicious of
immediately
him.
like,
What's going on
nah,
here?
it's a bit
Something's
weird,
not adding
yeah.
up here. Yeah.
And also, these are points that I want you to absorb and keep a hold of, because they're just it's so much weirder when you know what he did,
Of course.
like at the
Yeah.
end. But um, Chris immediately like coming in was like, the kids' blankets are gone. They'd never go anywhere without those blankets. That was one point. Another point, Shanann's wedding ring was on the bedside table.
Okay.
He stated to the police officer that they were in the process of separating
Right.
and that they had spoken, and she had said that she was taking the kids to a friend's house, but he didn't know who. And then the police officer asked Nicole, and she's like,
It's not me.
and was kind of like, that was like her closest friend. So I think she was a bit like,
If he was going to go anywhere, it would be to
it
Nicole's.
probably would have been her,
Yeah.
or at least she would have told
She would
her
have
where
told her
she
where
was
she
going.
was. Yeah. Especially if she's missing a doctor's appointment.
The police noted when they got there first that the sheets on the bed were stripped off and bundled on the floor,
Okay.
and they'd kind of questioned Chris on this. And Chris had said, Chris already had an answer, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so apparently Shanann likes to wash the sheets after sleeping in them after travelling to wash the airport off. which I completely get. Like, if I get back from traveling, um, and then I'm like, I really can't be asked to shower, I'm just gonna literally just blonk into bed.
Yeah.
I would probably wash my sheets the next day because it
Okay.
does have that smell, doesn't it?
There
Yeah,
is. You do get very sweaty
and
traveling a lot of the
stinky,
time.
and
Yeah,
yeah, because it's stressful as well.
it is.
So it's like one of those phrases that you're like, n- as the phrase itself, not particularly like strange. The fact that he answered it straight away is strange.
Yeah.
He was also quite like, I don't know, because to me he came off quite maybe a bit too calm.
Okay. Well, considering they were in the process of separating, yeah, maybe. Or so
That's
he
what he
says.
said,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You would think someone would be a bit more emotionally distraught. Is that the word you'd say? Or not distraught,
I mean,
but
if you come home and your wife and kids, I guess, because yeah, then he could argue if he had spoken to her before and she'd said, "Yeah, I'm taking the kids." But then if she had called him and said, "I'm taking the kids elsewhere for now,"
mm,
why would he then come home and be so shocked, like, "Oh my god, their blankets are gone"?
yeah, yeah. There you go. So,
The strangest clue. So one of their neighbors had like a surveillance footage, not like a ring door, but like, it was an actual camera, I think.
yeah,
Um,
standard for America, I think.
yeah, this showed Chris backing his truck into the garage at 5:19 a.m.
It's
Um,
very early,
oh, so for context, Chris's job, he was an engineer for an oil company.
right?
So most of the time he was doing really early site
Oh, okay.
visits and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's not a strange time. It's strange that he backed it up.
Yeah.
This wasn't a point made in the Netflix documentary, but was a point added by someone else, was that this was really strange, right? So his neighbor did say in that documentary, he was like, he never does that." And one of the friends later added that he doesn't do that because he comes home at such odd hours. If he backs the truck up,
It makes a
it's it's
noise.
like underneath the girl's bedroom and it would wake them up. So he doesn't normally do it. Like Shanann says, no, don't do that because it will wake them up.
Yeah.
So the fact that he did it immediately, Chris was like, "Oh yeah, no, it's because we've been having like recent fests in the area from like garages, and like he was like someone tried to like jimmy my door with a screwdriver, so he backed up that night so he could unload his stuff."
Mm,
He then left, and the police officer was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna stay behind and get your neighbour's information." His neighbour was immediately like, "He's acting weird. That he's acting odd." Like he was like, "He's such normally like a calm and like introvert pet, like he doesn't really speak, and that guy is waffling."
right.
Yeah. And then the
Okay.
police officer did kind of say, and this is the counterpoint, like his wife is missing. Is he gonna act normal?
Of course.
Because he's obviously like in a stressful position. But his neighbor immediately was just like, he never backs up his truck.
Mm.
He never talks like he is, and he is just acting just odd.
Well, it's one of the signs that if you're lying a lot of the time, you'll embellish stories or you'll add almost unnecessary details.
Yeah, because he could have just said, "Oh, we've had theft, so I decided to." But he like was going into detail about like he was like jimmying it with a flathead screwdriver.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
how are you gonna know that unless you're standing there watching him trying to jimmy it open? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I know what you mean. So that's already an indication that something's not
that
quite
he
right
was
there.
really acting
Yeah.
strange. Yeah. So that's day one. This is day two. Not a lot really happens on day two. Um,
Not a lot ever does.
apart from he did a couple of TV interviews, which are so weird to watch back.
Mm.
So he's like, pleading for his family to return, like just wants them back safe. But like he just seems really off again. And psychologists have since stated, like watching it, like watching behavior,
Mm.
that his demeanor is like emotionless. And like he
Oh,
even smiles at points, like smile. Like you see any kind of like a kid goes missing, someone goes missing, and the family's like pleading from the back and they're like crying their eyes out. They can
really?
barely get a word out. Most
Yeah.
of the time they have to have a police representative to just like
Actually talk them through it or
talk
help
or
them.
like talk, like read their
Their
whatever.
statement. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like he literally sounded like this and was just like like calm and like smiling and like laughing at points that like someone made a joke or something.
Worrying.
It's also been pointed out during his interviews that he was already talking about his wife and kids in the past tense.
Oh.
Because that's such an unconscious thing
Of
as
course it
well.
is,
So I
yeah.
think they were showing him pictures of his kids or something, and he was saying like, "Oh, that was her favorite blanket."
Not
You'd say
that.
that is
Not
her favorite
that is,
blanket,
yeah.
and
That's her favorite
once or
blanket.
twice you think, "Oh, it's just
It's a slip. Yeah.
it was like
If that's
constant,
just how he's thinking of them.
like they're already gone." Yeah.
Mm,
So that was day 2.
God.
Police at this point were like, "This guy's suspicious."
Fucking sus.
So they asked me if he'd do a polygraph test.
Good.
I've got mixed feelings about polygraph tests because they are like notoriously
Unreliable.
unreliable.
Yeah.
Because all they obviously test is like changes in like
Change your skin temperature
yeah.
and sweat
So if
and
you're
heart
already
rate and
nervous
things like
just
that.
being in a police station,
Yeah.
but how badly he failed.
Oh, really?
So -4 is the standard for this person's likely being deceptive.
Mm.
He scored -18.
I don't know much about a polygraph, but that sounds quite
It's severe
bad.
deception,
Yeah,
yeah.
severe deception. Okay.
So they were like, "Hey, Chris, you failed."
Because there's other ways you can raise someone's body temperature or heart rate, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like you
I think even you
fear
could score a
or
-4. That's why -4 is like likely deception, because I think you could definitely score a -4 just being nervous because you're being interviewed.
of course, yeah.
But yeah, they were really suspicious of him. They had because one of the points the police made also was that it was strange for them that he had suddenly got really ripped
Yeah.
and had been exercising a lot and completely changed the way he looked. So they contacted his supervisor and was like, "Is he having an affair?" Because, work people sometimes just do know. Um, his, supervisor had said he wasn't aware of any kind of affair that Chris was having. Chris was obviously still denying having one. However, the head of security at Chris's work contacted the police and said, "Yeah, we've got email evidence that he's having an
Oh.
affair with another colleague
Oh.
called Nicole Kessinger." Who I will get into further later because she's very odd as well. I will name her as Kessinger just because Shanann's friend's also called Nicole, just to avoid confusion.
Okay.
So if I say Nicole, I mean Shanann's friend. Kessinger is the woman he was having an affair with.
Gotcha.
So they looked into her. They interviewed her quite a few times, I think like 10 times or something.
Right.
So the police knew about the affair when they were asking Chris, "Are you having an affair?" And he was saying no. And they were like, "Yeah, we know you're having one." But yeah, they knew about the affair. They knew that they had spent time together while Shanann was visiting family, and they'd even gone on a trip together for July 4th.
God.
Yeah.
Americans love 4th of July.
There was also a charge on Chris's card, a joint credit card, for a meal on that weekend where Shanann had been away for work. And I think that explains why she was so distressed
Oh.
that weekend before she came home.
Because she'd seen it.
So, because it was for a restaurant, and he'd said he was going to that restaurant to watch a football game with colleagues. It's not odd if you see that charge then on the card. What was odd about the charge was that it was too large,
So much.
because she'd looked up at the meal, and because he'd said what he had eaten, and she looked up the price and was like, "Well, that doesn't explain like the other $30 or whatever it was."
Mm.
So yeah, she was like, "This guy's having," so that fueled her suspicions.
Sure.
The police always also knew that he was having an affair. They also found, this was a lot later on, but Chris had this app on his phone. And I remember this app being a thing. I don't know if it still is. But you know the one where it's like a fake calculator, but it's
Oh.
actually like a
Yeah,
photo vault?
of
Yeah.
course.
And it was all just like photos and videos of Kessinger. Some that he'd taken himself. He was in the pictures, and she was like, there's this one picture where she's like, I don't know if it's bikini or underwear, and she's like, leaning against the door, and his reflection was literally in the mirror taking a picture of her. And it's like,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah, I do that for all my colleagues, you know what? I do that for all my homies.
All your homies,
Yeah.
just on a
And then
secret
hide it in an app.
phone. Yeah, a secret phone app. Well, that's yeah.
Yeah, there was also text messages that were saved in there. But yeah, so armed with this knowledge, the police were like, explain yourself.
Affair, right here. Thank you.
They told him he'd failed the polygraph, that they knew he was having an affair. So Chris finally broke.
Okay.
Not completely.
Why would you? Okay.
So his father was brought in because they were like, "Will you confess to your father?" And he was like, "Yeah, I just want to see my dad. I just want to talk to my dad." His dad came in, and I find this point really interesting. He said he messed up the polygraph.
Okay.
Not, "Dad, I failed it. I
Messed
messed it
it
up."
up. Interesting choice of words.
He also said, he kept saying, like, "I don't want to protect her anymore. I can't protect her anymore." And his dad was like, "What do you mean? Like, talk to me." His claim now was that Shanann had smothered the children. He'd come in, she'd smothered the children, and upon discovering this, he'd completely just freaked out and killed her in response.
Okay.
He then admitted he's taken the bodies and disposed them at the oil site that he had visited that morning. These bodies
Okay.
were recovered the next day
Well, yeah.
because it was where he said they were. But that was what he was going with. Was that Shanann
It
had
was a
killed the kids and he had
yeah,
killed her in
not
response.
exactly self-defense, but a reciprocatory, yeah, sort of thing. Okay. Right. Believable, I suppose.
It is.
But not, but it is believable, but
But
not
why
with
wouldn't you
all
just
the
be
other,
upfront about
not with
that?
all the other evidence. And why wouldn't you just call the police? Like
Yeah,
if
why
you've already,
you've taken the bodies and dumped them somewhere else.
so if someone has killed your kids and you've then killed that person, even if they're your wife,
Yeah, the oil site
you'd then be
is
like,
about an hour away from where they live as well.
okay, I've got to tell someone because my kids are dead and they need to get a proper burial.
Yeah,
At the very least, that's what you'd want, right?
yeah.
If you knew you were completely guilty, unless you really thought,
But then is it like you come home and you've done this, you're like, "Oh shit, now I'm gonna get in trouble because I've
well,
still killed my wife."
well, yes, I agree with that, but there will be no evidence to support that he killed the kids because there won't be any fingerprints on anything that he touches, assumedly.
Another point that's not to do with that, just I think I do mention it later, but this is why his story kind of falls down in that is if Shanann was smothering these kids, you've got a lot of adrenaline going through your body. If he then came home, again, he was a ripped guy, he was obviously strong, but if he's then trying to kill her, she's gonna fight back.
She's absolutely going to fight back.
Absolutely no defensive wounds on his body.
Ooh,
No
yeah, that's
scratches, no bites, no, because there's those pictures they take when they're like that. There was nothing. This is now 3 months later.
Christ. Okay.
He fully confessed to killing all 3 of them. 3 months later.
Jeez, it took him that long.
He said the events were as follows, and this is when it gets a bit gruesome, so I'll try and get through it as quick as possible. Shanann came home at 2 a.m. and it was clear she knew what he'd been doing, and she knew about the affair as he wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Credit card charge. She got into bed and they did end up having sex. But the next morning when he woke up, he told her he didn't think it was going to work anymore and he wanted a divorce. Shanann was furious and said she knew there was someone else and that she was going to take their daughters and he would never see them again. While on top of her, he told her he didn't love her anymore and she told him to get off. His response was to start choking her. In a later statement, he said, "I felt like it was already something in my mind that was implanted. I was going to do it when I woke up that morning and it was going to happen. I had no control over it. Why couldn't I just let go?" He stated at this point, Bella walked in and asked what's wrong with Mummy, because she was like face down on the bed. He wrapped her body in the sheet, putting it in his truck, and put Bella and Cece in the back with it. After driving to the oil site about an hour away, he killed Cece first, then Bella, by smothering them with their own blankets. Oh no, the girls' blankets are gone. He dug a shallow grave for Shanann and then proceeded to put the 2 girls in the oil tanks, forcing them through opening hatches that were only 8 inches in diameter, which for us metric people is 20 centimetres. These kids were 3 and 5, I think, or 4 and 3. After this, his phone records show that he called the school to say that the girls were being unenrolled. He called a realtor to talk about selling the house, and he texted Kessinger about their future.
Fuck, dude. That's fucking disgusting.
Bella was 4 and Cece was 3. That was their ages. 20 centimeters, by the way, is only like
Oh yeah, it's a small fucking
that.
hole. That's horrific and gruesome and
I will say it gets worse.
no.
But I will talk about the legal consequences first. Chris Watts was charged with 5 counts of murder because there's I didn't know this, but I don't know if this is a US thing, but there's 2 special counts you get for death of a child who had not yet attained 12 years of age and the defendant was in a position of trust. Because their father. Unlawful termination of a pregnancy and 3 counts of tampering with deceased human body. He did end up taking a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. He's been sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, along with an additional 48 years for the unlawful termination and 26 years for the tampering charges. He will never leave prison.
No.
He
but
will die there.
At what point do you just if that's your existence, why would you not take the death charge? Why would you not?
He didn't want it, I guess. He actually had to be moved to a maximum security prison because the one he was being held in had physically shut down just to walk him down the corridor because the other inmates were threatening and trying to kill him so much.
Well, they fucking should, yeah.
Because it's kids
I was
involved,
going to
isn't
say
it? Yeah.
there's a lot of violence in prison towards offenders who do anything
Mess
to
with
kids.
children,
I
yeah.
think also women as well. There's a big thing against that.
Pregnant women, yeah.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
women. I don't think there isn't really
Oh,
because there's a lot
okay.
of female murder men that kill women is if they're pregnant because it's like a protective thing.
Yeah, okay.
He has since then found God. Yeah.
Bullshit.
And hopes that one day people can forgive him.
Right.
Now I'm going to tell you why I don't fucking believe him. He wrote letters to a woman called Sherilyn Cadle, who was an author and has published these letters in a book called Letters from Christopher, The Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders.
Oh, yes. I think I remember hearing about this book, yeah.
So in these letters, he does actually contradict a lot of his original statement, but it's worse.
It's worse?
He said, and again, I'll go through this 'cause this is awful stuff. He said that he had in fact smothered the girls first before his argument with Shanann. He made a comment about how when they came in to ask what was wrong with their mum, he didn't want to comfort them and was in fact angry that he had to kill them again. He also claims that Shanann did not fight back, which is why he had no defense marks, because she couldn't, as he had given her another narcotic. A claim which he has since withdrawn. Thank you. He also said that he felt nothing for his children when he killed them, and was in fact surprised when only Bella fought back, which was a detail confirmed by the autopsies, which showed a cut between her lip and gum, and marks on her tongue that indicate she had bitten it multiple times. She also had a really large scar on her buttocks from being shoved through that hole. He admitted that he'd been planning on killing his family for weeks. One statement he said, which is going to forever haunt me: "My entire life lay there on that oil site. All I could feel was now I was free to be with Nikki. Feelings of my love for her was overcoming me. I felt no remorse. I felt like I could kill anything and be justified for doing it. I didn't feel any remorse for what I did. I didn't feel bad for killing my entire family."
This guy's a fucking psychopath. That's insane. Holy fucking...
Awful, isn't it?
I could kill anything and feel justified for it.
Yeah, he didn't feel any remorse. It's what he said.
Right, yeah, no, I don't care if he confessed. He should be killed. He should be put down. I'm sorry, but if you're unremorseful that much in that violent manner of killing someone, there is no redemption. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put it out there. If you kill in self-defense, absolutely fine, you have to do it. If you kill in a fit of rage or, passion of crime, crime of passion, whatever it is,
You at least are like, "Oh, shit,"
you at
afterwards.
least like you acknowledge, oh
Yeah.
fuck, I'm fucked, whatever. But that sort of behavior, nah. Bullet to the head, take him out, throw him in
A
a fucking oil
horrible,
dump.
horrible man, yeah.
Fuck's sake. Sorry, I got very passionate.
No, I don't blame you. He's horrifying. That is actually all my I've only got one more section because I want to talk about Kessinger
Okay,
because she's quite interesting.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's a fucking awful person.
I don't like this man.
I don't like this man.
I want to be very
I
clear
think
on
they
this.
should put him back in that prison.
I think they should put him in the fucking oil ground.
Well, this was the other point. So he dumped the girls in tanks of crude oil. So they'd only been in there like I think like 2-3 days, but their
They'll be
remains
completely
were like not.
preserved.
No, it desecrates more. I think.
Does it?
Yeah, it decays quite quickly.
I don't know enough about oil.
I think maybe it was crude oil. I think they said that it was quite decomposed, but because of the fumes, so they had to completely empty these tanks first,
Oh,
and then because of the fumes, that it was only fully trained people with full hazmat, so you could only be in there for a few minutes,
wow.
and they had to like do things to the body, so it wasn't because they were like really contaminated.
Hmm.
I don't know how many they said, but a lot of the people that did the body recovery that day ended up in therapy and having massive mental
I'm
breakdowns.
not fucking surprised seeing a body like
Because
that.
it's bad enough a body, but the body of a 4-year-old and a body of a 3-year-old. God knows what they look like being shoved through that hatch as well. He deserves to burn in hell. I hate this. I'm starting to cry. I hate this
I'm getting
man.
upset as well. It's
Horrible. But was Kessinger just as bad?
I don't know.
This was the woman he was having an affair with.
Well, yeah.
And it's still 50-50 about her involvement.
Okay, right.
A lot of speculation around it. So, because when the police first interviewed her, she said that she had met Chris at work. He had told her that he was at the end of a divorce. He wasn't.
Liar.
And that she'd only found out about Shanann's pregnancy and even her name through social media after Shanann's death.
Oh,
Like she knew that he had oh no, she also said that he didn't know, yeah, she didn't know like he was married still.
right.
She knew of this woman, but apparently didn't know who she was or that she was pregnant.
Sure.
She also said that it wasn't that serious of a relationship and that Chris was like way more into her than she was into him. I'm now gonna pick apart her lies.
Here we go.
So she actually refused to give her phone over to the police, and said that she'd deleted all of her correspondence with Chris because she was disgusted at his behaviour and lies. Quite a natural reaction, I think. If you found out about someone, I'd immediately want everything off my phone for it. But I'd also still give my phone over to the police and be like, if you're going to recover it and you need evidence, absolutely fucking do it. That's
Yeah.
a horrible man.
Yeah. You're against him. So go against him.
So the speculation is that she did it to cover up her own involvement. Emails obtained from the correspondence they had at work was that she knew Chris was married from the start.
Okay.
Because there is like an email that says like, oh, I want like whatever, like marriage, whatever you've got with your wife and kids or something. When she said she wasn't that into him, they picked up her search history,
Oh,
which
no.
included terms like wedding dresses and marrying your mistress.
What?
Her search history, even better, also showed that she'd looked up Shanann months before she even met Chris.
Okay, that's fucking suspicious.
And I think the point they made in the documentary is if she had just literally like, I didn't say Google, but Googled Shanann and Chris Watts, you can easily find their Facebooks and it's literally just posts and posts of them being married and their kids. The day after Shanann's disappearance, she also searched up if police could track text messages and how long phone companies keep texts for. She then deleted that history.
Bruh.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
The only, playing devil's advocate, The only way I could see that being, like, a natural response is if she completely innocent, have just found out that, your,
The
the person you're
person,
seeing is this horrible person that's just killed their
sure,
wife and children.
yeah,
You'd be like, "Are they gonna think that I was involved?"
true.
Or instantly delete everything off and then be like, "Oh, shit, the police might
Yeah.
want that. Can they
Can I
do
rec yeah.
yeah, can I recover it?"
Hmm. Nah, on top of everything else that they've
But
already
yeah,
found.
and it gets worse. She had an 111-minute phone call with Chris the night before the murders. So it would be like the evening before when she came home at 2 a.m.
That's nearly 2 hours.
Yeah. She says she can't remember what they spoke about. Chris claims it was phone sex.
Right.
Because that was a point they made. It was like she could recall pretty much everything he'd said to her, but couldn't remember what that phone call was about.
Mm.
So, were they having phone sex? Or was
Or
she trying to convince him to get rid of his family? 111 minutes is a long time to have phone sex.
I wouldn't know. I'll take your word
I
for
mean,
it.
I wouldn't know either, but it feels like a long time. Almost 2
It is
hours.
almost 2
I think
hours,
I'll
yeah.
get bored. How do you keep it spiced up for 2 hours?
Yeah. I don't know.
Nah, I'd be
But
like, "Yeah, I'm tired." Hang
can
up.
I go to bed now?
Can I go to bed? But there was another point that came up, and I don't think it was ever further looked into, which I find really surprising.
Mm.
Kessinger's phone pinged in the same town as the Watts family home at about 6 a.m., which is when Chris would have been on his way to the oil site.
Yeah.
That ping is 20 minutes away from where Kessinger lives.
Oh.
To this day, Chris has completely denied her involvement and she's never been further investigated. No one really knows where she is either because she filed for a name change and moved. So no one
No one's
knows where
got
she
records
is.
of where she
Yeah.
is. Okay.
But I think she was involved. I think because again she was like, "Oh, yeah, I wasn't really that into him," and there's literally a video of her being like, "I'm so happy you're here. Like you mean everything to me. Like, mwah, you know." Yeah, right.
Okay.
That's me being like, "I wasn't that into you when we first met," or you being like, "Yeah, I was not that into you when we first met,"
Oh,
and we were just throwing
we kind of
ourselves
were
at each
just,
other.
yeah,
Yeah,
throwing everything we had. Yeah. It's great.
but yeah. But I think she was involved. I think
I mean,
she comes across as a bit of a psycho.
it's a fair enough point, and the fact that there was a phone ping that close,
Mm.
and she would have traveled at the very least. I imagine, I don't know if so. For me, it seems like he met up with her. Maybe she wasn't directly involved, but he probably met up with her, been like, "Look what I've done."
Yeah, oh shit. Because he backed up his truck at what 5:12 a.m.
Yeah,
and she pinged at 6.
yeah. So he's then
So him
left.
backing up the truck was him loading the bodies. Well, loading the body and his alive children, because he smothered them at the oil site.
Did he?
That's what he said.
Well, yeah.
But he's also changed the story 3
So we
times.
don't know. But either way,
Yeah.
he loaded up bodies and or children into the truck, and then probably traveled to. I think it was bodies, because then he probably traveled to see, they met somewhere else within that area, which is why should they got a phone ping,
Mm.
and then it was probably like, "Hey, where are you? I'm here." It's like, "Yeah, I've got something to show you.
It's just
Look what I've
well, because then
done."
yeah, because what the kids if the kids were still alive at that point, was it then her that was like, "You need to get rid of them too?" Because the thing is, and this is the point, they were 4 and 3. That's not at an age you're gonna understand what's happening.
No, a lot.
You're completely trusting of your father. That's your dad. Why would you not have any reason not to trust him?
Absolutely.
Especially the younger one.
Mm,
She didn't know what was going on. I think he'd said he killed the younger one first
mm,
and then the older one. And the older one had looked at him. She was the only one that put up a fight,
yeah.
and she had looked at him and said, "Are you gonna do to me what you did to" Oh, I can't remember which way around it is. Which one's the younger one? Is
Uh,
Cece the younger one?
Cece's the younger one. So do to
Yeah,
Cece.
Cece. Yeah. Are you going to do
Cece
to
and
me what
Bella.
you did to Cece? And apparently she was the only one where when he put the blanket over her head, she said, "Daddy, no." That makes she's just on that borderline of maybe understanding what was happening. Because that makes me think if they were alive, while they were being driven to the oil site, their dead mother's body is at their feet.
I'm getting upset again.
Yeah.
I don't.
Again,
don't-
I hope he burns in fucking hell.
That's too good for him. I hope they fucking rip him apart in prison.
We should bring back was it hung,
Hung,
drawn,
drawn,
and
and
quartered?
quartered.
Even that I think is too nice.
Drag him through the streets.
Mm.
That's disgusting. I can't abide by that.
Should we talk about his psychology?
Man bad. Man very
Man,
bad.
very bad.
That's very bad, man. Woman probably not great either.
Because then what if it comes out in the end that it actually wasn't? Wait, it was actually what he said first, that Shanann killed them. This was the point I was going to make about the court of public opinion. Because when this happened, before he fully confessed, and
Oh, of course. With
everyone, like loads of people online were like, "Oh, she was a bitch. She drove him to it."
turned on her, yeah.
Huh? Like,
Huh?
I'm not saying that females don't also commit family annihilation, but it's a lot less.
Women can murder too.
But yeah, it was because I think her family got like a load of threats, and the guy got really horribly cyberbullied. I think they were one of the people behind changing the cyberbullying laws.
Oh yes, yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, just awful people. But, and this is gonna make me sound awful, I'm so interested in the psychology of psychopaths
You worry me.
because I like to know why they do the horrible things they do.
Okay, yeah. All right, let's dive into the psychology then.
But this is the other thing. There's a lot of speculation around: is he actually a psychopath? Because I don't like throwing this term around because, I think people just call anyone that does something bad a psychopath. But I do think he's a psychopath, and I think he's a narcissist as well, which is another phrase I don't like throwing around. And again, I keep saying this every time, but I'm not a psychology expert. This is just my opinion from my research and my knowledge.
You're not an expert, but you did study psychology. You have a master's in it, and you are looking to pursue it further.
All right, just get my qualifications out. Might as well just take my certificate from up there and put it up there.
I think we should. I think we should do it for the next
What,
one.
and my graduation photo?
Yeah.
Oh god, no. Horrible photo.
No need to get your qualifications out. Anyway.
No.
You're the qualified, well, not qualified, but you're the psychology aficionado, we'll say.
Amateur.
Close enough. And I'm just happy to be here.
You're just happy to be here.
Yeah.
But so he definitely exhibited characteristics of what we class as a narcissistic personality trait. There's a desire to maintain a perfect family image. Engaging in an affair is quite common in narcissists. Because a lot of, again, many people describe him as mild-mannered, quiet, quite introverted, devoted to his family. Yet he had this, double life in the background, another woman, and that kind of shows his ability to manipulate situations, deceive others, and then ultimately rationalize his horrific actions.
Sure, yeah.
He's also got like this mad need for control, which kind of comes back to how I said that where I thought Jeff from the TFU was narcissistic because of his need for control, because that's like a big thing.
Yeah.
But because he obviously like felt unhappy in this marriage. If you're cheating on someone in the first place, you're unlikely to be unhappy. Likely to be unhappy.
It's a pretty big giveaway, yeah.
But instead of just like, openly discussing his feelings, talking to his wife, being like, this isn't right for me anymore. Like, I want a divorce. Yeah. He chose what I would say is the ultimate control over a family. He just erased them entirely. Just got rid of them.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's narcissistic. Psychopath.
Yeah, here we go.
Obviously, complete lack of empathy.
Yeah, none,
He
zero.
completely said he had no remorse whatsoever of killing his entire family, and all he could think about was being with this other
I
woman.
was gonna say,
Hello?
known those people for years, literally had an entire life with them, at least, 4 or 5 years, and then erased it because a pretty girl smiled at him?
Probably. So apparently, from what I could find, typically psychopaths display overt aggression and erratic behavior,
Okay,
but his cold, calculated demeanor in the aftermath of the murders suggests psychopathic traits.
gotcha.
Yeah, complete lack of empathy. He lied quite convincingly. Like, I think, again, because I said if you'd watched it, you might have found him a bit odd, but
There could be
I
other
mean, he did trick the
reasons.
police and
Yeah,
public for a
for a
while.
while, at least 3 months.
Yeah, because they couldn't, there's no evidence they couldn't prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Like, he's pleading for his family's return on national television knowing he just killed them. Awful. Oh god, I can't. Just the way he disposed of them as well.
Yeah,
Completely
that's
inhumane.
absolutely.
So, yeah, his ability to carry out the murders without showing signs of emotional distress, like there was complete detachment and compartmentalization. Him literally saying like, "Oh god, I got to kill my kids again."
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not not okay.
So, there's there's something that's quite interesting that kind of goes to why we should not bottle up our feelings.
Okay.
So this is past. That's why I think he's a narcissist. And that's why I think he's a psychopath. The other point of this is that he clearly had a lot of suppressed rage, and that's why he snapped. But then
Right.
the other argument is that if he had been planning on killing them for weeks, that's more like a lot more meditated, not as
Not
heat of the moment kind of
kind of
thing.
passion or whatever it is, yeah.
But like he was clearly like emotionally repressed. Like he didn't talk to anyone about how he was feeling. He didn't talk to his wife about feeling unhappy in a marriage. And a lot of people say this is why it likely led up to this bottled up resentment towards Shanann, especially as she was strong willed and dominant,
Of course.
quite living in her shadow, which is why a lot of people are like, oh, she pushed him to it. Shut up.
No.
Shut up.
You can have
You can have opposite personalities.
you can have a very strong female personality and
Yeah.
get along absolutely
I mean,
fine.
that's like with us. But like, because you're the extroverted one,
Oh,
like
I
the opposite
suppose.
personalities.
Yeah.
I'm so much more introverted and not that way, and you're a lot more extroverted. Doesn't mean I feel emotionally oppressed and I'm going to ball it up and then kill you one day.
I really
I mean,
hope
I might if you keep leaving the drawers open in the bedroom. That's another thing.
that's one thing specifically.
It's really annoying.
But yeah, but I also, because I know you're like that, and I've also gotten to a point where I'm able to talk about my feelings quite openly, I'm encouraging you to talk about yours more, and which is something you're also pursuing in your own um time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah,
please don't kill me.
nothing about it. Oh god, this podcast could be used as evidence if I ever do. God, no, I can't. No, I don't want to at the moment.
Okay, I'll take that.
But yeah, so there was this thing about like he was emotionally repressed in their relationship, and this led to this like eruption of extreme violence.
Sure.
Even though the act itself wasn't impulsive, it was quite premeditated. But it was to remove the perceived obstacles to be with his new woman kind of thing. Um, and that's why I'm more like I think Kessinger was involved because this completely seemed to come from a point when their affair started was his major turning point in his mindset,
Right.
I believe.
You believe.
So, research on family annihilators suggests that many perpetrators commit such acts during times of perceived personal failure, such as financial stress, an affair, or the impending arrival of another child.
Oh, so he hit 2 out of 3 there.
He had said, remember, he tried to terminate that pregnancy. He also did say to her, he texted her, I can't remember if he texted her or said to her that he really didn't want another child and actually the two girls were enough.
Okay. Right.
So rather than seeing a way out of being like, we need a divorce, he viewed his wife as children as just disposable, basically.
Yeah.
The theory is that he eliminated them to pursue an idealized future with Kessinger. This delusional thinking suggests an inability to process reality rationally and is common within family annihilators, which also kind of, I think, a lot of family annihilators, from the research I found, do have quite psychopathic tendencies.
When you'd imagine.
Because you need to have a lack of remorse to kill your family, I
Of
think.
course. Yeah.
But that was the psychology behind him, which is why I believe he's a narcissist and a psychopath. He's obviously a family annihilator.
Mm.
I think it all, yeah, it just comes back to saying you have no remorse over killing your family. Like, all you can think about is being with this other woman.
That is that in itself is your own issue. If you
Yeah,
have whatever it is that gets you across the line of I love my family to I want to be with someone else, like
they
that
are
in
obstacles
itself.
in my way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that in itself is an issue to have. But then seeing them as not people,
Mm,
seeing them as obstacles, as something to be gotten rid of by any means necessary,
yeah.
as it were, that's gives you more of a idea of there is something not just wrong with this man, but it is a serious mental defect.
Do you think then you'd class him as a psychopath?
I would.
Do you think that
Well, and not then again, because traditional psychopaths, to my understanding, like they display these sort of behaviors before, or at least they have a pattern of childhood abnormalities,
oh,
in the
what, like
sense of,
skinning animals?
or inflicting pain. Again, having less remorse or zero empathy or whatever it is. And I suppose because there's not much information on his background,
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I don't know anything about his childhood.
I was going to say, because they might have left that out of the documentaries or any of the other information, because that then, like, he might just have a really good childhood, and then that doesn't back up anyone's psychopathy theories. So,
Um, I don't wouldn't say that, because I
okay.
think the reason why we don't really know much about psychopaths and why a lot of psychopathy research is very recent
Mm,
is because we just don't know. Like, some people have those traits in childhood, grow up completely fine. Some highly intelligent people score high on
on
psychopathy
psychopathy
traits,
tests, yeah,
and are normal, or what we would class as society
yeah,
normal.
I get you.
Some people don't have any traits in their childhood and then grow up to do psychopathic things and be quite psychopathic. And then there's a whole argument with sociopaths, but then that's a whole
That's
other
true.
thing.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, with a lot of research, and I think I mentioned this before about the frontal lobe and
Mm,
psychopathy, a lot of people had this underdevelopment of the frontal lobe,
you're absolutely
live a
right.
normal life. Some of them then be a psychopath. And then it's people that have these psychopathic traits, but don't act on them.
Yeah. Do you think is there need to be a wider conversation about what do we need to reclassify what a psychopath is? Because for a while, I suppose it's just been the placeholder of the person who commits these acts and doesn't feel this way. Is there more of a link of, are there certain events that can turn someone into a psychopath? Is
But
it,
that's why I don't think we'll ever know.
I suppose, are there, it'd be interesting to, if there is any technology in the future about putting microchips in people's brains and stuff, but like monitoring levels, if someone does grow up very normal and then has a switch and does something
What is
psychopathic,
it that's changed?
what
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, yeah. What is the chemical or what is the
Yeah. I
response?
think there needs to be a conversation anyway about it, because I think because of mainstream media and Hollywood and all that, you just talk about a psychopath, people just think like
Dexter?
yeah, that is exactly who I was thinking. Dexter, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like cold killer with
Mm.
like no feeling. But that's only just part of it. And again, not all psychopaths kill.
It's true. But I think again, because you are one of those people who has this interest about psychopaths, I think it's very common. People are interested in it because there's maybe it's because there's not a lot of information about it, and people it is that sort of abnormality. There's that wonder of why people do what they do,
Mm,
especially in that regard.
yeah.
And so I think because of that, it does have a fairly large.
But then not all killers are psychopaths.
That's also true. So,
I would say that murders committed by psychopaths are so minimal.
right.
Because you think about why people murder.
Mm.
Again, crimes of passion, self-defense, still murder.
Mm-hmm.
Domestic violence is probably the biggest one, I would say.
Genocide.
Ignoring that kind of shit. But yeah.
Because I think something like that, there was evolutionary a need for psychopaths in the sense of if a community needed to be defended, you need people who are able to turn off emotions, kill other people.
Is
in
that
order
your
for
hot
people
take?
to...
Psychopaths make better leaders?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people.
Because I think no, I won't go into that.
No, I know.
No.
But I'm saying that the evolutionary or maybe not evolutionary, but society, if there was, I'm talking way, way back, if there was a tribe that needed
Like
to be,
cavemen.
yeah, if
Yeah.
a tribe needed to be defended, they needed to have at least a certain, maybe one, or like, at least people who could, because taking a life, I don't know if you've ever done it. I would hope not.
Not something I'd admit to on this.
No, of course.
They've never found the body, so.
But I mean, even animals or anything like that, like anything above something like a spider.
Yeah, but then that's like murder in defense is very different to I want to murder this person because I want to feel a thrill out of it.
True. Yeah.
Or I've beaten the absolute bollocks out of my partner and now they're dead.
Yeah.
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 I think that's different.
That's true.
We'll move on.
We will.
But you think he's a psychopath?
I would argue that yes, he is, even if he doesn't meet all of the potential criteria
Definitely
for
a
a psychopath.
narcissist.
He's absolutely a narcissist. Would you say that's more common than psychopathy, narcissism?
I don't know. I won't make a comment either way.
Or is it more easily recognizable, would you say, narcissism? Because I think we've all known someone
With a
when we were
big
growing
ego.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or went to
But
school
being
with.
egotistical is very different to being
Being a narcissist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was quite narcissistic when I was growing up. And then
You
kind
want me
of.
to make a comment on that?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Because I'm going to make my own comment on it.
Yeah.
Because then I grew up and went to counseling and therapy and realized no, the egotistical.
You're not actually the hot shit you think you are.
The egotistical. I was going to say is the egotistical front I would put on was a defense mechanism because I was very insecure about things.
Yeah, that's again very different. That's not the narcissist is you truly believe you are better than everyone else, and I mean there's more into it, but that is essentially like the big picture as such.
Sure.
That which is why it's different to like having a big ego. Because I don't think even having a big ego is bad
No.
in some situations. Because it could be like I have quite a big ego about my cooking.
You need
Because I'm a good cook.
Yeah,
I'll toot my own horn. Toot toot. You know what I mean?
in some situations it pays to believe your own hype.
Yeah.
Like you have to have
If I
that
had a big
confidence.
ego over like, oh, I'm, really good at like Magic the Gathering, you'd be like,
Sit down.
sit down. I know nothing about it.
Sure.
It's like me saying, look, I can immediately sit down and be really good at it. I know I'd be trash.
Hmm.
I'd be awful because I don't know anything about it.
Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the point. The last thing I want to touch on is more psychology.
Cool.
My favorite is the psychology of cheating. Which is going
Okay.
to be a great conversation.
Why are we
for us.
having this conversation? Do you have something to tell me?
Gabe. I'm leaving. No. So cheating is a painful reality for a lot of people.
It is.
I personally have been cheated on a few times.
I don't know. No one's told me.
No
if they
one's
have.
told you.
Yeah.
I
would really like to hope not.
At this
But
point, would you really want to know though?
That's the
Once
thing.
you're out of it.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
it wouldn't. It
Because
wouldn't
I think
matter to me.
the one that hurt me the most wasn't the one where I was in a relationship and I'd found out they were currently cheating on me. It's the one where I found out it was literally a year later after we'd broken up
Wow.
that he had been cheating on me. Although that one might have hurt more because I found out he had been cheating on me while we were together. Yeah, you can't cheat on someone if you're not with them. But
I know what you mean.
with my at the time best friend,
Ooh.
who we're not friends anymore. We haven't been since uni.
I am not surprised.
But they had one of those friendships that I was always a bit like, okay, that's weird. I have nothing against female-male friendships. Most of my friends are guys.
I have a lot of very close relationships with women.
Yeah, like, it's not an odd thing. But their friendship was always like, I was always a bit like, slightly on the edge of just weird, but I didn't think anything of it. We were all quite young. We were like 16. And then it was always like, she'd always be like, oh, you know, you don't have to worry about that. He's like a brother to me. I've known him for so long. And I find out they're fucking. Like, we were in Norfolk, but you know what I mean? Like,
God's sake, yeah.
Like, calm down. Anyway, maybe that's why it hurt more. But yeah, I've been cheated on. You might have been.
We don't know. It doesn't bother me at this point, but I know it happens. I know people who have been cheated on and how badly it affects them. Yeah.
Yeah. But the psychology that I'm interested in about is why do people do it?
What do you class as cheating? This is the question.
Because there's emotional cheating and there's physical cheating. I class both.
Sure.
So, so sorry for that sound. If you are, it's difficult because flirting, but there's different types of flirting. Like, I will flirt with my friends in a way. Don't look at me like, let me finish. But not in a like I want to sleep with you way. In a kind of like, oh, hey baby, you're looking real good today. With my female friends. I don't do it with my male friends.
You just said you have a lot of male friends.
Okay, but I only do this to my female friends. Which you're going to look at me and be like, what difference does that make your vibe?
I'm not going to say that, but
Yeah. But like, I wouldn't ever, like, I mean, I'll compliment my male friends. I'll be like, oh, you look really nice, like your trousers, whatever. Or it's like, you know, one of your friends said to me, I like your outfit's sick. I don't take that as flirting, as a compliment. No. Like, that's different. But there's a difference between like friendly banter flirting that doesn't mean anything. It's kind of just like if that's the way you are with your friends.
Yeah.
To actually, the difference for me between that flirting and flirting with someone for cheating is you are giving them not a hint or like, but in a way that you're saying you have a chance.
Right.
Like, I'm opening myself up to a possibility. That kind of flirting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, if I said to my friend, like, oh yeah, your arse looks fat in that. Why are you looking at me like that? My female friends. I'm not going to go up to, like, Ed and be like, your arse looks fat in that, my guy.
Sorry, Ed. I would like to say, out of my friends, Ed does have the nicest butt.
Okay, I wouldn't know. I've never looked at any of your friends' bums.
But that's because he squats a lot. He can squat like a champ.
It's just information I didn't need to know about Ed.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anyway, shout out for you and your big butt.
This is not what this podcast is meant to be about. But like, I think that flirting is not cheating for me. This is my opinion, obviously. Okay. Flirting is not cheating unless you were actively pursuing or like giving someone a like flirting in a way that could be taken as, oh, they're into me, they want something to happen.
Yeah.
So I would class that as emotional cheating.
Sure.
The emotional cheating is the line between this is just a bit of banter to being like, hey, come get me. You know what I mean? And then a physical cheating is anything. You look at another woman, you breathe around there.
Oh my god.
If you kiss someone else.
Okay. So are we talking
sleep with them?
So when you say kiss, is it like kiss on the mouth?
Oh, well, yes. You mean like, is it cheating if you kiss a girl on the cheek?
Yeah.
Not if they're your friend.
Okay, cool.
If you're kissing another random girl in the club on the cheek.
Oh, that's weird.
I wouldn't be like, you've cheated on me.
No.
But I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? That?
Yeah. No,
it was so dark. I thought it was you. Shut the fuck up.
I just asked this because I do have a friend
that
who
you've kissed?
No. I do have a friend who, when she gets drunk, she likes to go around kissing people on the cheek.
Yeah, but she's doing it to everyone. Then I
was going to say
that's different.
It's mainly because she likes to leave big red lipstick marks on
Who
people.
Is it?
Heather.
I've not met this
You've
person.
Not met Heather,
no. Well, she's
lovely.
engaged and has a
yes.
not that stops with people. I'm not saying she is a cheater.
No,
she's
not. Oh, without a
That's
doubt. No.
different if she's doing it to like everyone.
Oh yeah,
Because
it's
it's like
just
different when you get really drunk and you just want to show your love to your friends.
she just
to
gets wine.
getting drunk and being like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna sleep with someone else.
Yeah, no, she gets wine drunk and just wants to show her affection. And
I mean,
it's very
I'm
sweet.
exactly the same. You've never seen me wine drunk before. If
True.
you think it's the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that would be cheating if it was on the mouth.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Okay.
even a peck.
Okay.
That's why are you doing that? That's just weird.
Okay.
Why? What? Or what would you class as cheating?
No, that's fine. I agree.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've seen you flirt with your friends.
What?
You just told me about Ed's ass.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
that's again.
Why? You got something to hide? Are you hiding something?
No,
I don't
I'm
mean your
not hiding
female
anything.
friends. I don't think I've ever seen you interact with your female friends that isn't just like siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it is.
I wouldn't let you be friends with someone you slept with.
I know. I wouldn't want to.
Good.
Well, that's not true. But like, well, I suppose it sort of then depends on how recent is the.
Oh, because it was like you're gonna talk about the person, my ex, who you're also friends with. That's different though, because you were already friends with him, and it was already part of that friendship group.
Okay.
And that was a point I'd made. If you weren't comfortable with that, then we wouldn't date.
I know.
But you'd also seen us interact.
True.
And knew what it was like.
Yeah.
And also, I wouldn't have met you if I wasn't still friends with them. So.
I know. It'd be very hypocritical of me if I
Yes.
said, yeah. But yeah, I'm just addressing that. But that's fine. Cool. Glad we're there.
Nice. So anyway, what I did last weekend.
Oh no!
You were with me last weekend. We were with
Yeah.
my parents
I was
last
gonna
weekend.
say.
Yeah.
It'd be very strange.
Where would I find the time? Where would I find the energy? But anyway, back to the actual psychology of cheating. So we've defined what we find was cheating. But infidelity, the big thing about it is that it's often associated with just dissatisfaction in a relationship.
Generally.
It's not always about being in an unhappy relationship, though. Like a lot of people who have admitted they've cheated said that they still love their partners. So then it's like, if you still love this person,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? Well, what's
going
going on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is that it?
Yeah. But I think it's because like so a lot of people say that it's all about, it's a bit exciting, it's rejuvenating, it can be like quite intoxicating as well.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, this thing I shouldn't be doing, and it's a bit thrill, isn't it? Because it's got to keep it secret.
Oh, we shouldn't be doing this.
That's different. Shut the fuck up.
I didn't say you got. Anyway,
it's a woman here. So yeah, it's like this like rush basically, because it can create like new feelings. Obviously for the betrayed partner, it sucks ass. You get heartbreak. There's a lot of confusion, anger involved, a lot of emotions going on, and like a lot of people, like we understand the potential consequences of cheating. Emotional turmoil, divorce, separation, loss of trust. I don't know many people that do tend to stay with their partners after cheating. I did, and it was the worst mistake I've ever made. He cheated on me 3 times.
Oof.
And I kept taking him back. Yeah.
Egg on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. I was doing my clown makeup every morning, But yeah, so why do people do it? What are the underlying psychological motivations if it has, this horrible fallout? Yeah. So there's 7 things that I could find, like the main kind of reasons. Reason number 1, you've just fallen out of love with that person. You're still in the relationship, but you don't love them and you're just seeking an emotional connection with someone.
Okay.
So it is about, you feeling unfulfilled emotionally. You want intimacy that you're not getting. Even if you still care for that person, you're not like in love with them anymore. You love them, but you're not in love with them.
Should we talk about a solution for that if that's the situation?
If you say fucking communication, I'm gonna. But yes, communication is the answer to that one. Yeah.
If you're in an unhappy relationship, generally
don't do what I do.
Wait, what?
Cheat? No.
No.
I think it's more of a female thing, but you emotionally like check out of the relationship. not that you cheat, but you've checked out. So I think,
Because you're not seeing the relationship in the same
yeah,
way,
like I
you
think
then
a
are
big
more
thing for
open.
me, like I was in a really serious relationship for 3.5 years. We were engaged, and when that ended, I
You're already
I
out
got into
mentally.
a new relationship 2 months later, and a lot of my friends are like, "Oh my god, like that's so quick," and like everyone was like, "That's so quick." But I emotionally checked out like 6 months ago. Like I'd been breaking up with this person in my head for 6 months,
Yikes. And you didn't say anything.
and he didn't pick up on it either.
Well,
We literally
yeah.
didn't talk. We weren't intimate. We lived together, but we weren't like, we didn't go on dates. We weren't romantic. We were literally just like housemates, basically.
Yeah.
Like not even really friends. But yeah, I emotionally checked out, and yeah, I should have communicated. I was very young. I will say this: we got engaged when we were 19. Shut up. You know this.
I know this isn't for me.
This
This is
was
for
like
them.
one of the first things I ever told you, because I was like, does it bother you that and you're like, no, I don't care about anyone before me. It's only me now. But that makes him sound so awful. It was made in a much more romantic way, I promise. But
Yeah, I was going to say. That just makes it sound like an egotistical dick.
again,
Anyway.
I'm not gonna comment.
Thank you.
But yeah, like don't base my point is don't do that. Do communicate, because
If you are unhappy, it
say,
is better to talk about it, because you either will find out that the other person is unhappy as well, and you can either, if you want to work towards a resolution, you can, or
Yeah.
you can decide, you know what, we had a good run. I'm sorry, this isn't working out for either of us.
because you've got
We
more
can part.
chances to fix it if you bring it up soon.
Exactly.
Because I think if I'd brought it up at the end of the 6 months, he wouldn't have had any interest in fixing it. I think he said he felt quite relieved actually when we broke up,
Right.
and it ended up being a relatively mutual breakup because he wasn't happy either.
Sure.
But we didn't talk about
Because
it.
you're not talking about
Yeah.
it, you don't have, you just, yeah. Sometimes then one person is like that. Sometimes it's one person who feels that way, and the other person maybe is picking up on it and is very confused and upset, but doesn't know how to talk
Yeah.
about it. So it is hard to talk about. But if you can
Communicate.
just
Communicate.
sometimes just sitting down, and being like, "Hey, we need to talk." No one likes that phrase.
No, I unfortunately my nervous system can't tell the difference between we need to talk and having a gun to my head.
Christ. Okay.
But
yeah.
anyway, that's reason 1.
Yeah.
Reason 2, a need for variety and novelty. So it's kind of like the first one, like needing something new. But sometimes people cheat because they crave new experiences, excitement, or sexual variety.
Sure.
So sometimes it's just my sex life isn't spicy enough. I want to,
Do something. You
do
want to
something
explore it. You want to
else.
explore a different kink.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and again, with that one,
Communicate with your partner.
it's yeah, and more specifically, it's like suggest if you are feeling unfulfilled, it's like, okay, I would like to try something new. Bring it up again in a healthy, clear way. Not say you're wrong, you're not doing it for me. You say, hey, this is my thing. I would like to try something new.
Yeah, can we try something new?
Can we try something new? And then if there's resistance, then you can be like, okay. In which case,
But again, a relationship isn't about just sex.
no, of course not.
The article I was reading said that this one is is particularly true for those who struggle with commitment, or they fear monotony in long-term relationships.
Okay.
And I think that's because it's kind of the cliche, isn't it? Like when you've been married for like 10 years, like how do you spice up your sex life?
There's a lot of. I remember. I think I was young and like being like that was an article in a magazine or something.
Yeah, like
People would talk about
10 ways to spice up the bedroom or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, and it's like, there's so many things you can do, like, to spice it up. Very sex positive over here in this household. So,
you like?
talk to your partner. There's hundreds of
Thousands.
toys on the market
Hundreds
nowadays.
of toys. There's thousands of different ways and things you can do it.
Yeah, just find something that you both enjoy that you maybe haven't tried before, and remember that this person that you're with, you're comfortable with them. If it then gets to the point that you're like not comfortable, then that's a different conversation.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you're comfortable with this person, explore it together. Like even if you explore something together and you're both like, this is awful, and you just have a laugh with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even then, because that can lead to further conversations and discoveries.
Yeah,
just
laughter
from
is a great form of intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I make you laugh all the time.
You do. It hurts.
Why was that so depressed? Yeah,
I'm
you
kidding.
do. Okay.
No, yeah, I try and make you laugh, and you just kind of roll your eyes at me a lot, and then you.
Yeah, because it's mostly dad jokes. I get that enough from my dad. I don't need it from you as well. Actually, most of your friendship group just make dad jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great.
Yeah.
I like
But
that.
that was the second one. So that's more to do with sex.
Okay.
Number 3 is a big one that I struggle with, which not that this is a reason for me cheating,
Okay.
but feeling neglected or underappreciated.
Oh, okay.
So when someone feels ignored, unappreciated, or unseen by their partner, they may seek validation from someone else. So this is a way to regain self-worth.
Okay. Yeah.
So I that one is the one I understand. Not that I then still think like you still shouldn't cheat, but like that feeling of like
You've struggled with
needing
sort of. Yeah.
validation and like having like bad, just like a low self-esteem, like low self-worth. Like I'm not saying that you as a partner that is quite literally what you have to do. I mean, it's definitely like you should be doing it. You should be validating your
Of
partner.
course, yeah.
And obviously I don't think there's a lot of work.
But I think that there's a difference between you can get some validation from your partner and you can get some reassurances, but a lot of that has to come from an internal view of
That was the
yourself.
point I was about to make, but you
I think,
interrupted me.
yeah, I know, because I was going to say it more
This is why I have
coherently.
really bad self-worth, by the way. It's because he
Uh,
interrupts me all the time.
I think if
I actually interrupt you more.
either of us, you interrupt me far more than I interrupt you. So
But yeah, no, that's the one I get more. Because again, I think, with the sex one and the feeling like down, so much that can be resolved by communication. I mean, this can all be resolved by communication or breaking up with that person. But yeah, like that.
if you're with someone who is constantly putting you down and making you feel like you're not worth it.
Sorry, my alarm went off. So there will be a random cut in the video, but
Sorry about that. We are back after technical difficulties. The recording device stopped briefly,
Excuse
but
me.
we are back. Anyway, yes.
Oh, I was
Cheating,
advocating cheating. If
You
your
were advocating
partner's treating
cheating.
you like shit,
which
I support women's wrongs as well as rights.
Yeah, I know. I would just say if someone's not making you happy,
So number 4 is revenge and retaliation. Sometimes cheating is an act of retaliation. If one partner has been unfaithful, the other may cheat to even the score.
sure.
This passive aggressive response doesn't solve underlying issues, but can provide temporary emotional relief. I've absolutely done things to get back at someone. We were broken up though,
Okay,
but like I've done stuff to retaliate someone.
gotcha. I think I've thought about it,
Yeah, the night we met.
but I don't think I've ever actually gone out and vindictively done something against someone that I cared about.
But I have also had it happen like to me where, well, no, because it didn't happen to me because I didn't do anything. Oh no, it was because I broke up with him.
Right.
This was the guy that cheated on me with my best friend.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd broken up with him and then was kind of in the, when like you first break up and you kind of want that person back.
Yeah.
He then literally, this is again, we were really young, so it's just like Snapchat era.
Ugh.
I know.
Hate
So
that era.
there was this girl that I was always, she was the like threat, and she was always the one, oh, you don't have to worry about her.
Mm-hmm.
We broke up and I was still like talking to him, be like, I kind of want you back, like I kind of regret my decision. And then he literally stopped, like was ignoring all my messages. This was a guy who cried when we broke up, by the way. Like he did not want to break up. He put a story on his Snapchat of him walking around where we live now. So you know who this is.
Oh.
Of him holding hands with this girl that he told me not to worry about, and then I found out like a week later that he'd slept with her.
Fucking yikes. Yeah. If you're worried about
We
someone,
didn't get back together.
if you are worried about someone, chances are there's a good reason to be worried. If you are,
Yeah, I think always trust your gut feeling.
trust your gut feeling,
Yeah.
but also it is
My
important to
gut
have
feeling
proper
has never been
conversations.
wrong about anyone.
I-
I think women are better at knowing.
I think so.
Yeah, we just know. Women always find out as well.
Smell it on us.
So I'm just saying, if you cheat on me, I'm gonna know.
I'm not going to cheat on you, so
My
it's fine.
my spidey senses will be tingling.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cheat on you, so it's
We
fine.
always find out.
I'm say it 3 times. I'm not going to cheat on you, so it's fine.
Say it once more.
I'm not going to cheat on you, so it's fine.
Okay, fine. So number 5 is, again, it's to do with sex. It's unmet sexual needs. Not necessarily just sex. So it's a lack of physical intimacy, which obviously
Oh,
it
okay.
doesn't mean just sex.
Yeah.
But being sexually incompatible. Now, I said sex is not a main thing in a relationship, but
But
if you are sexually incompatible,
incompatible.
thank you, because that's different to, like, you know, our sex has got a bit boring. We need to spice it up a little bit. Let's talk about maybe new things we want to try. To just you having sex and not enjoying it because you're not compatible sexually. Like, you'd like completely different things. You don't care about
Meeting the other person's wants and
yeah,
desires. Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah, of course.
So that one, yeah, fine. So that can push people to seek out that. But then I do think if you are that way, then you shouldn't be with that person. Even though it is like if they're meeting all your other needs, but then like
It's really hard. That is a hard
yeah,
situation as well. If someone makes you happy a lot of the time,
I keep whacking this mic.
if someone really makes you happy, all the time, and you get on really well, you can see yourself having a future with this person, but your sexual chemistry isn't matching up,
Yeah.
then that's because, again, if you are happy, you should probably try and pursue that. But I think it's difficult. It's going to come back to it, but a conversation needs to be had to see if
Yeah.
one of you is missing something, or if one of you is aware that if one of you thinks the sex is really good and the other one is like
It's rubbish.
it's awful, then it's like, okay, there's some awareness that needs to go on
Yeah.
here. However, if both of you are like, yeah, kind of not feeling it, then there needs to be maybe it's an early into the relationship, or maybe things have just gotten
See,
it's
maybe
been a
that's
long
why I
one.
think that like what is it? Like poly people.
Mm. Yeah, there is that option. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see. Do you remember when I met you? Like, I made a joke about when I was seeing the guy before.
Mm.
Like, we had great chemistry, like, gone really well, had a great time, but there was just no sexual attraction or like
Didn't have that spark.
intimacy kind of thing. Like, when I kissed him, I was like, "Oh, this is nice," but I'm not getting like, butterflies or anything, to put it
Sure.
in a nice way.
Yeah, PG.
But because I made a joke to you about I would have loved at that point to have 2 boyfriends.
Yeah.
One that was just like that, like we had fun, we went on dates, and then just one for just like that side of it.
The
I'm
other
killing
side of
PG because I know
things.
my dad listens to this.
Yeah, I know.
But then I know I make it a joke because I could never, because my jealousy, like I'm quite a jealous person. That is
Yeah.
quite a big red flag for me. I couldn't do it. Like if I then knew you had 2 girlfriends, I'd be like, "What do you mean?
How dare you?
How dare you?" Yeah.
Why
Which
am I
then
not
is
enough?
hypocritical, and unless that is
Unless it's
like there is poly relationships that I've seen that are like 2 boyfriends and they don't have any interaction together, but they both date the
same.
woman and they're all completely fine with it. That's
Yeah,
completely their right.
absolutely.
I'm not
It is.
shitting on poly relationships. I just personally I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, me neither. Not for me.
But so number 5 is just physical gratification, nothing to do emotionally.
Cool.
Number 6 is a desire for power control,
Oh no.
which I think is a big thing for Chris Watts.
Yes. Yeah.
So some individuals use infidelity as a way to reclaim power in their relationship, especially if they feel controlled or undervalued by their partner.
Mm.
I guess that comes back to him, that everyone's saying that she was quite a controlling and dominant,
Strong personality,
and that was maybe why
strong-willed,
he felt a need to.
possibly.
Oh yeah, because actually that was one of the things they said. I forgot to put it in, but he said he really liked Kessinger because she asked him what he wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was quite
She
submissive to him in a
let
way,
him
yeah.
lead, opposed to probably
That makes him feel like more like a man,
absolutely.
which is this is all horrible.
Horror.
Honestly, so I've just got 2 shots of tequila in that, and I'm done
You're
for.
slurring your words already.
this is horrible stereotypes, but I can see that from him having like quite a narcissistic personality.
Sure.
Him having quite a dominant female partner could be quite like
You might feel undermined,
grating on
or
him,
yeah.
and then that's why he was so attracted to Kessinger, because she was like, you take the lead, and that makes him feel like really manly and like the man that he hasn't maybe had in that relationship. But that then to me is that relationship maybe wasn't right for you, so you should have had a conversation and broken up, or asked for a divorce and worked through that, not murdered, including your children. Like, your children are innocent in that.
I know, that's the most horrible thing, isn't it? The children did nothing. They were completely helpless.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The final one
yeah,
is just situational factors, because not all cheating is premeditated.
that's true.
Some affairs happen because of circumstances,
Mhm.
travel, alcohol, work relationships, I think is a big one.
Yeah,
Or they met, they worked together,
of course.
or simply being in an environment where temptation is high. That's all it described as, and I'd love to know what they mean by that.
Well, I mean,
An attractive co-worker, maybe. I think the
strip club.
Yeah, but you don't go in those.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but as
Do you,
no,
Gabriel?
of course not. But I'm just saying, as a high temptation factor, that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think work relationships is a big one.
Yeah.
My last 2 relationships came from people I worked with.
I don't think I've ever had a relationship with anyone I work
Don't
with.
do it.
Obviously,
That's
not.
also my other advice, is absolutely do not sleep with your co-workers.
I mean, I know a few people who are in relationships with people that they work with, and it absolutely works fine. Some people do.
Yeah.
Some people are better that way. Some people like having that consistency, and that's absolutely fine. If that's what you want to do, I'm not going to shit on it, because I'm not one to judge.
I guess it does.
You have a different. I think you have a
yeah.
different perspective because it happened to you, whereas I've only seen it from the outside.
Well, I think a big thing for me for that was that one of the big reasons why we broke up, was because we moved too fast in the beginning. Because we saw each other every day, we spent all of our time together. There was shit. I'm just describing our relationship. We don't work together though. I don't see you during the day.
It's true.
Um,
Weekends.
I sleep through most of those.
That's true.
But because we spent way too much time together, I think we kind of like suffocated each other a little bit. And then by the time that kind of evened out, we lived together, it was a bit like, oh, maybe we should have done things differently.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, my advice would be not to go for your co-workers.
Okay.
We don't have to worry about that anymore. But because that's that cliche of like, do I find this person attractive, or is it just because they're my co-worker?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all the reasons I had for why people cheat. That's kind of, it's not really it isn't psychology.
Is that surveyed or just general looked up?
That's an amalgamation.
That's a very good word.
Of a couple of psychological articles I was reading.
Okay.
Based on some of it was based on interviews of people, because again, that's where the people admitted that they cheated, but they still love their partners.
Yeah. There you go. That was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was a lot, and this has been a long podcast.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. My only questions for you was, do you think he's a psychopath? Because there's no question of did he do it.
No, of
I
course.
think he absolutely did it.
He admitted he did it, so he did it. But yeah, so Chris Watts, family killer, bad man, very bad man, naughty, slap wrist.
Bad man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was...
Thank you for joining me for this horrific... Oh, when I say thank you for joining me, I think you'll just see a lot of him. Now he's just here.
Well, I'm very pleased to be doing this with you. It's a lot of fun, and I like sharing this activity. It's not work. I don't class this as work.
Ooh, okay.
So this is something we can do for fun. And if other people enjoy listening to it, then that's good for them.
We do have other hobbies. I would like to state that we don't.
We do have other hobbies.
We're not. Are we boring?
No,
we're not boring.
I don't think
we're
we're
boring. Anyway,
thank you very much for tuning into this episode of What's Going On. We have been your hosts, I suppose, now. And we look forward to talking to you next time.
See you then.